slipping away again. And now my love for you is so strong, girl. I can feel you slipping away again.
World.
Hey, Dallas.
I'm Alvin,
I'm Charles.
and welcome to Tit for Tat.
This and that.
Okay, and today we are going to be talking about the knave within, or shall we say, the knaves within America.
Okay.
This we're going to talk a little bit about this election, and behind the American facade.
Yes.
And this pretense that we tend to put up of how America is, and or have put forth, that we still haven't, after all the after these centuries, we still haven't lived up to that American idea that America
At all.
is
Yeah.
it's a land of the free and the brave.
Mhm.
It seems like we got quite a few people here with no courage. And and I believe that I believe we just elected a dictator.
Mhm.
I mean, it's possible that we might end up in an autocratic society,
Mhm.
living under a fascist.
Right.
So so what I want to talk about, I'm gonna go through a little bit of the some of the history dating back to slavery of where where we where white society, basically elite white society, um, garnered the support, or got the lower class whites and the poor whites to turn against the blacks, the slaves, or the freed blacks or whatever. We'll talk a little bit about that and how it correlates with today's history, and how it correlates, with the Holocaust and other countries that have went that way. May have started out democratic and then turned into an autocratic society.
Right.
With fascism, dictators, and people being submissive.
Mhm.
So I have here fascism, a far-right authoritarian and ultra-nationalistic political ideology and movement, characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, military. I have not pronounced stuff right today. Militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in a natural social hierarchy, subordination of individual interests for the perceived good of the nation,
Mhm.
and strong regimentation of society and the economy.
Hey, more. Good to see you.
And hey Morg. So let's kind of get into this a little bit. Uh, Throughout the program, I'll put up a few little banners and logos and stuff that that I created, to help talk us and guide us through this a little bit, because it's a with the election of Donald Trump, it's a divided country now. I mean, we kind of been divided, but I think since these last few elections, we've gotten even more divided, and more of the racism and hatred toward the other has started coming out. Where it kind of used to be kind of underground, even though we would hear about it a little bit here and a little bit there, but it was kind of mainly underground, where people did kind of subtle stuff to show their discontent or their racism, sexism, their homophobia. But now it seems to be just really out there in the open, where now that Trump's elected, people just think they can come up and say and do whatever they want to you now. I'll put up a few little banners here as we go through, and then to kind of let us know kind of how some of this, how some of it got started. It's not the whole picture, but it's a little bit of the picture. So we have our knave, which is Donald Trump, and we have knaves within, which could be our government, our religious leaders, the people,
And knave is not an everyday word. So what's their definition of that?
Well, okay, so a knave is like an unscrupulous evildoer. Well, it could be that too. But a knave is like an unscrupulous evil person, and they'll use their power, or whatever, or they'll play, use it to play on the sympathies and empathies of society, to get them on their side, but that's not really who they are. They fool the people. You know what I'm saying? And then once they get them on their side, and you can get them turned against, the rest of the people in society, then they start manipulating them, and so they can seize power and control power. And it doesn't have to be a political figure. Anybody could be a knave, or whatever. But in this context, we're talking about, America, our religious leaders, and I mean, not just religious leaders, but our leaders, our politicians, our judges, our policemen, even the people, Trump, or whatever. So behind the American facade, okay, but a facade is facade basically is a false front, an image held out to the world that makes what lies. An image held out to the world that masks what lies behind. Okay, this image that we portray, to the world, and the world still sees us like it's this superpower, right? They see us as this defender of democracy and the defender of even other countries around the world who sometimes can't defend themselves. And but now they see, us as a fool, just like you said, because we just reelected this fool. He showed us who he was last time and the damage that he did last time, and then we reelected him again. And it's like, why? And then how did he also get some people, that even didn't vote for him last time? How did he pull some of the other ethnicities in America over to his side, where he was able to win the election? He won by a very small margin, okay, but I guess he still won nonetheless. I think, because there's a possibility, there's a possibility there could be some, some wrongdoing in that, where they were, suppressing people's vote, throwing out people's vote like they always do,
Right.
But with Elon Musk owning whatever he has his part in those machines and stuff, and Starlink, whatever whatever, there could be some wrongdoing in there. We don't know that. We may never find out. You know what I'm saying? But there could be some wrongdoing in there where he had those machines and stuff, because some of them did disappear, and then there's stuff that was set on fire, ballots cast out, not counted, and stuff that could have actually really, went to Kamala Harris, or there was also stuff going on where they were saying that where they had voted and it changed their stuff on the paper.
Oh yeah.
Where they voted they voted for Kamala, but then somehow Donald Trump's name ended up at the top of the ballot, even though some of the other stuff still stayed the same at the bottom, but it would change her name. Now, if that turns out to be true, I have no proof on anything, like that, but I've been hearing that through different sources out there that I've been reading and researching up on.
Yeah.
So we don't know that. We don't know that yet. But if he did win, it's like he pulled some of the coalition that normally would vote Democratic, right, over to his side, which means they voted against their own interests, because a lot of them were poor, they don't like to be. Some of them were uneducated, so they don't like that when you say uneducated. But the truth is the truth. Not all of them were. Everybody's not college educated, whatever. That doesn't make you stupid or anything, like that, or ignorant or whatever. But it can. Two things can be true at the same time, that could make you that, uninformed voters, where they don't go research, they don't go try to find out the truth, they just go by what they hear and then they go vote, or they vote on scare tactics, being afraid, and then that's what Trump, that's what he used, the scare tactics, and they've been doing that since slavery, all the way up into the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and then with the Southern strategy, and moved it back into up into the Ronald Reagan, Nixon, Ronald Reagan, and them, and now Trump. You see what I'm saying? So here's you asked me about a knave, an unprincipled, untrustworthy charlatan, a fraudster, evildoer, or dishonest person. And a lot of people can fall into that category, but in this case, we're talking about our government, and the people who voted for him. And they can put all of us at risk. It's possible if we go towards a dictatorship, a fascist society, if we start moving to that, what they do is they'll do it slowly. They'll start, and while we might fight against some of it, or whatever. But if enough people aren't, if enough people just say like stay home or ignore what's happening to them, or whatever, they may complain about it, but they don't do anything about it.
Right.
And that's what they want. Okay, they want you not to protest against them. They want you not to buck the system or fight back, or fight for your country, because that way they can take it over.
Right.
And once they take it over, it's going to be hard to get that back. If and I don't know, in our lifetime, if it turns into an autocracy, and it could take a few years for that to happen. But if it does, just that we might not ever in our lifetime, we might not see a democracy again.
Right.
It may come back, it may not, but I doubt if it'll be, in our lifetime. Because once they're in power like that, they want to rule, like a king. And like some of the other monarchies and dictatorships around the world,
Yeah.
So, so that's what a knave is. And then, what do you think? What do you have to say about it before I start getting into some of this other stuff?
Well, I mean, when I started researching or whatever, I was just thinking about, what America supposedly promised, and some of the things that they said they stood for or whatever, like immigration, education, civil rights. I mean, everybody will be treated fairly, supposedly, and then you have all these promises, and then I started just like looking at all the promises, and then like, but what are the realities though? And you have really dropped the ball on a lot of things that you said you were going to be and stand for. You haven't even hit any of the things that you said you were going to do. For the most part, it takes people standing up and fighting for it, and which is sad, because why should we have to fight for just rights that everyone should have? You have them, why can't everyone have them? So it was just enlightening just to see just all the fights that we had to fight for a country that says you're all equal, you're all free, you can come here and live and have the American dream, whatever. And it's like, no, we can't, because and like when originally I think it was Reagan, right, that said make America great again, and then Donald Trump picked his slogan up or whatever. And it's like, what America are you talking about? When was it great for women? When was it great for blacks? When was it great for Hispanics? What America are you talking about that was so great that you want to go back to that or whatever? And it's like, yeah, we have failed as a country or whatever. So those were my thoughts. And and then I just went into like notes or whatever, and we'll get into it as we go. But those were my first thoughts as we were, building the show. It's like, you promised a lot, but you have broken so many promises, or you haven't withheld the promises that you said we all could have.
And then actually, what does that actually mean? Make America great again. Like, I mean, are we are, to me, I know why he's doing it, and why they're doing that. It's a scare tactic. They want you to think that, the blacks are coming to, the blacks are going to steal and shoot you or whatever. The immigrants are coming to take your jobs, or the blacks too, but the immigrants are coming to take your jobs. They're coming to steal, do harm, or whatever to you and your family. It's a scare tactic, and if make America great again. What is it? What they thought, going back to the 40s or 50s or something,
Right.
or when America is only great by the people who can stand up to oppression and defend America. If we can't stand up to dictatorship, or fend off autocracy and stand up to brutal totalitarianism or whatever, then we're not going to be great anyway,
Right.
Whatever. And then it's the people who made America great, and that includes all of us, the enslaved that were the blacks that were brought over here that were enslaved, okay,
That built the country.
the indigenous people, which what they call the Indians back then, whatever, who were already here. Okay, there was also territories that were Mexican, that we took when we took their land, and which I believe they probably tried to take it back down. Probably it's like, okay, but this is originally ours. Some of this is really ours, so we gonna take it back, whatever. But I don't know. But and then the white people that was here too, that that were good, decent white people, because there's always good, decent people in a whole sea of bad,
Right.
Who will fight for the oppressed, and to make, and fight for equality for all. So those are the people that make America great,
Right.
not these MAGAs, these
Right.
Trump people. They try to pull off like they're patriotic, you know, and that they believe in God, you know, religion, you know,
Mm-hmm.
they believe in God, and they're patriotic and they love their country.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were patriotic and you were a Christian or whatever your religious belief is, where you believe, you know, that all people are created equal, you know, or whatever, if that really was you, you wouldn't have voted for Trump,
Right.
because Trump is not
He
that.
does not believe that.
Trump's not. He's not even for them, even though they think they are. Trump is out for himself, you know, and greed and all that type of stuff. But if you were really Christians and you know, I'm gonna just say Christians, because you know the United States has this thing about Christianity, you know what I mean? But Christians, and you were really patriotic, you know, for your country and stuff, you wouldn't be doing this to destroy it, to turn it into an autocracy. You know, you would not be doing this.
I want to speak on the religion thing too, because just recently, Louisiana, you know, they have put in law that you can put the Ten Commandments in the schools or whatever. And then there was something else that came up where now the accepted religion or something, like you can read the Bible in the schools or whatever and all this kind of stuff. But my thing is, okay, so you left, you know, Europe or whatever to come here because you wanted religious freedom or whatever. And so we're supposed to be a country that we're not a Christian nation. They like to say we are. We're not. We're not a Christian nation, but they like to say we are. But what we are, we're a country. We are a country where you can practice whatever religion that you have. But what they are doing is they're trying to say, or no religion, right? You don't have to do anything. But what they're trying to do, they're trying to force, you know, Christianity down your throats or whatever. But my thing is, if it's a freedom of religion, then why don't you have all the, you know, all the religions? It shouldn't just be the Bible in school, or it shouldn't, you know, it should be the Quran or whatever, in the Book of Mormons. You know, it should be all these other religions. You can't just focus on that. So it's like you make a promise, but you don't fulfill it. You break it. And that, I mean, there's so many that, you know, you have stood on and said, oh, we're going to do this and whatever. And you fail us each and every time because it benefits you, your bias.
And so to touch on that religion thing again is, you know, in school, you know, that's why they have the separation of state, because the United States was supposed to be not built on religion.
Right.
You know, it's supposed to, you know, our Constitution states that there's the freedom of religion, which means you have the right to practice your type of religion, your type of faith, and then these people over here, they have the right to practice their type of faith. You know, I have the right to practice my type of faith, or no, don't practice any type of faith at all. You know, and then you should not be judged, you know, or discriminated against because you're not practicing Christianity.
Right, exactly.
And then the other thing is, when, you know, if they go back to that where you have to pray in school, you know, or whatever, and then they're saying it has to be from the King James version.
Right.
What about the people, the kids and stuff that are in school who are atheists, who are Mormon, you know, who are what's the other, you know, the
you have the
Muslims and stuff, and everybody prays differently.
Yeah.
And some people, you know, they have rituals when they pray, and then for you to force a child to pray out of the King James Bible, and that's not their religion. Right. That's discrimination right there. And then, you know, and you're saying that they have to have an hour or have something within the day where they're studying religion or praying and stuff. You know, that's not going to work. You know, then you're going to cause even more separation. You know, and so that's what, you know, it's like people don't really know what they
you know what they're gonna do if you teach kids, because you know they're trying to start it with the little kids or whatever. If you teach kids that early about a religion that they don't know anything about, what they're gonna do, they're gonna become judgmental, right? Because the Bible, if you don't teach it, you know, in the right way, it's gonna call you to be judgmental. If you ask any Christian right now, they'll say, well, these are the good, these are the bad. this is evil, this is righteous, or whatever. The Bible, if you don't take it what it's supposed to just mean or whatever, you're going to become a very judgmental person. And you're going to teach kids at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old of age or whatever to be judgmental.
Well, they teach them that already, because they grow up in these families where they throw certain religions and stuff down your throat, whatever. And so they teach children how to discriminate, oppress, be judgmental, teach they teach sexism and homophobia. And colorism. But that Bible, it's basically, it has a lot of good stuff in there too. It has good stuff in there that some people, you can find things in there too. To treat people kindly and to live a decent life, or whatever. But a lot of people are using it to oppress people. And it's full of sexism and homophobia and murder. It's just full of stuff, like that. Even some of the people who wrote it were deranged. Some of them were criminals and deranged themselves. And they're writing, and people would take this as truth, or whatever, instead of going back and finding out what some of those real meanings and all of that type of stuff is, or whatever. But I don't think that we can teach this in school, and especially in this day and age where even the United States has got even more multicultural now, and I think it would just be oppressive. But so I'm gonna read this right here. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress, is a quote by Frederick Douglass. That means the endurance of those oppressed by tyrants sets limits of those tyrants. Douglass said this in an 1853 letter to an abolitionist associate. The quote continues: "Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Power concedes nothing without a demand." Okay, so Trump won. Now he's going to demand for our compliance. Okay, he's going to demand that we bow down at his feet. And he's going to demand that Congress, that they abide by his rules. He's going to overshirk the Constitution. The Constitution is there and it's supposed to, guide and help protect us, through the, with the laws and all of this type of stuff. But if him and the cronies that he put in, if they don't follow the Constitution, and then the Republicans, the Republican Congress and them don't hold his feet to the fire, and if they don't actually come out and protect protect society from from this tyrant, okay, then he's going to overshirk the Constitution, and he's not going to pay. So those laws, the amendments and and all that stuff in there, it's not going to matter, because. And then that's how dictators come into power too. They overlook the people. They overlook, their laws, and stuff, like that. So, but it says power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. Find out just what people will submit to, and you have found the exact amount of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. And these will continue until they are resisted with either words or blows, or with both. And a tyrant is a ruler who has absolute power and uses it oppressively or brutally. So, and
to me, it's like, why would you have, these founding documents like the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and not really oppose to them? And granted, some of them may, they're old, some of them may need to be adjusted, but in totality, it's really supposed to be equality and fairness for all. And if we could just do that, it can be so simple. Somebody wrote this. I think it was Lauren Hill. She said, it can be so simple. It can be so simple, but we make it so hard because we're a very selfish people. And sometimes I think we say it's by nature or whatever, but I think that if we just learn to just think of people, put yourself in the other person's shoes, and I guess that's what empathy or whatever. Because everybody has bad days. Everybody is not like Trump. He inherited money. Everybody doesn't get that. I mean, my parents, they're telling me, we're gonna leave this or whatever, but everybody doesn't get that or whatever. So everybody doesn't start off on the same footing or whatever. And if we realize that, we could be I think a better society. And I believe that's how it was supposed to be, from the get-go. But we got so selfish and so us versus them or whatever, to where we don't even see anybody but us. And I mean, I'm speaking of probably mostly white people, rich white people, whatever. They just don't see us. And it's like, if we don't, like he had to take power, we have to take the power too. We have to go out, and we'll talk about it later in the show. We have to go out and actually demand our rights. So, I mean, before they're taken away,
Yeah, because it's like, I'll go back here, and then it's like, find out just what people will submit to, and you have found the exact amount of injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to happen. We just re-elected an evil person. What's it? The Antichrist. Basically, they live vicariously through each other or something, because that's an evil man. But we just submitted to that, and the people, it's like they don't see that. A lot of people think, oh, it's not going to happen. He's always saying this stuff. He's always talking this type of stuff, whatever. But that's how it starts. That's how we end up in an autocracy, because we don't believe this is going to happen to us, or he's not going to. They're not going to live up to their plans. Some people just think it's funny and think that he's being, a strong leader, or whatever, which is ridiculous, because now all the rest of us, it's going to be painful, but the rest of us are going to have to suffer for their poor lack of judgment in voting for him.
I was going to say this later, but I want to go ahead and say it now, because it's on my heart to say. I grew up, of course, people, you guys that watch us regularly, I grew up in church, in a religious environment or whatever. This is something to think about, Alvin. And I don't know if you ever even heard people think like this, or even say this, but picture this, like old girl said on Golden Girls. Picture this. So the church world, when things like this happen, and you have people that rise up and take your rights or whatever. Just think about the civil rights movement or whatever. And Martin Luther King was kind of like this too. That's why he had his people that were not totally on board.
That was most of the people.
Yeah,
most black people that weren't even
right.
And basically, after he died, then we loved him. Then he made it harder. But before that, a lot of black people didn't even.
Yeah, because he was about peace and everything. So in the church world, when stuff like this happens, they don't so much believe in going out and doing the protests and doing this and doing this, because they feel like that's the world's way of doing it. We want to do it God's way. God's way is we're gonna pray. We're gonna pray. We're gonna cast out all kind of devils and demons. We're gonna ask God to change the hearts of the king or whatever, and move his heart towards us or whatever, just like they did with the the Pharaoh and the Israelites, Moses' time where he had to go and let my people go, let my people go. There's a way that God deals with it, and there's a way that the people that are outside of God or whatever deal with it.
Did it work?
So that, and I think for me, I want to speak to that audience because I know you're thinking, and what I'm saying is it takes more than that. Yeah, pray. If that's what your religious practice is, go ahead and do that. But it takes more than just prayer. And it's not. And we always want to put stuff on demons and demonic and antichrist and the bark of the beast and 666 and all this kind of stuff, Satan and all that. But there's a way that America itself works as well. So you can, if you want to do all this spiritual warfare and all this spiritual battle, you do that, whatever. But it takes more. There's actually steps you can do legally to go before these people and say, hey, we want this done. We want these rights as well. We want these liberties as well, or whatever. If it means getting signatures, if it means, going to the Capitol and whatever, being right there in the House or whatever, getting the representatives there, voting, whatever. It's not just going to be like all the spiritual stuff. And my thing is, have you even verified that all that spiritual stuff is real? I feel like sometimes you're fighting the air. You're just fighting the air. Because where is this devil? Where is this Satan? Where is this, whatever? And I think in these religious people's minds, that's all they think of, and they think that's all we have to do. So that's why they stay home. They pray, they stay home and they pray. They stay home and they, I got a scripture for it. They stay home and they, whatever, and they don't want to get out there because they think, oh, God's gonna take care of it or whatever. And God will, but He put you here as well. He put you here to make steps as well. God will work through you, and I think that's what I want, like the religious people that are in that mindset to know that, yeah, do your praying, do your whatever, but we actually have to get out there and fight, you guys, because nothing is going to be just handed to us. They're taking it, they're trying to take it away,
So, but where is the goodness and the kindness and the love thy neighbor part? Where does that come in? Because I don't see these people who are always out there spewing this religious rhetoric. You don't. That's not all you hear.
Mm-hmm.
But
here's some of it.
you hear a lot of negative stuff coming from them, and let's take them away. Let's send them over. Let's send them. Let's do this to them. Let's take this from them. And I want, and then, like even just say with prosperity gospel and stuff, like that. It's all about money, and in their mind, well, God's going to give us this because He gave the preacher, He gave the reverend millions of dollars, and he get to drive around in his, live in a big house and then drive the whatever and fly around in these planes. So if He did it for him, then He's going to do it for me too. They get in, it's like they worship false. They worship the false gods that they talk about in the Bible,
right?
And they're worshiping Trump, setting him up to be like he's godly, and stuff. And they're worshiping, it's like, oh, well, the economy, I'm going to, once he's there, then I'm going to get this money, and it's going to trickle down to me, and I'm going to get this too. So it hasn't anything to do with kindness and goodness or whatever. It's like me, selfishness, what I can get out of it and stuff, and what I can take from them so that I can live this type of life that I'm accustomed to or whatever.
And you bring up a good point.
It's like the money changers and stuff that was in,
where he flipped the table.
Over, those are the religious people, the Pharisees and all of them, they're in there, and those are the ones, the ones who actually crucify, who say, yeah, let's crucify him, whatever. And it's the same way with these people now, these religious people. If Jesus were to come back, for the people who believe in Christianity, like Jesus and God and all that type of stuff, if He was to come back, it's these same people who would crucify Him again. It'd be like, Jesus, get down off the cross.
They would not recognize.
We need that wood. Get down off the cross. Whatever. But it would be the same ones who would crucify Him again. and you can tell it's
tell.
these racists, these white supremacists. You got these black people, so these black ones who will sell us down the river and shit, so they can be adjacent to whiteness, thinking that's going to make them more superior, or they look, we're superior to them, to these other blacks, because we're up here and stuff. It's those like, where they segregate us and keep us all apart, and they use that Bible to do that.
So the one or two points from what you said. So you make a good point, because if it is all about, the ones that are talking about the money and putting President Trump is going to give me the money. I thought God was the one that's blessing you.
Right.
Why are you putting all your faith in this man? So if it's all about God's going to give you the blessing, why does it matter who's in office?
Right.
And then like the suppression and stuff like that, they will come against people that are not like them. And that's not Jesus, because Jesus, when I read the Bible, he was around the prostitutes, he was around the tax collectors or whatever. He was around all these people. He attended weddings where they were drinking or whatever. He would hang with them. He didn't matter. So in our day and time, those tax collectors, those people that drink and prostitutes or whatever, those are now the LGBT people. Those are now the trans. And Jesus will be around us. He would not be segregating and be like, okay, I'll do it for y'all, but I won't do it for them or whatever. He was for everybody. And I think they just really have an issue with anybody that doesn't look like them. And that's not what America is supposed to be. I mean, why say that this is a place, it's supposed to be like this melting pot. It's supposed to be a place where immigrants can come, if you want to, and have a better life. But then you want to put us out, and you want to make it hard. Like I said, the system was never meant for us. The system was made for you guys. You made a system that we will never succeed at it. We're getting close. I mean, we get close, but we'll never be. You're never gonna see us as equal to y'all, ever.
It's made for the elite, the rich, the wealthy, the elite. But that's the American facade. Exactly. Everything you just said, that's the American facade that we put. That where people outside of the United States, they see that and they think, oh, that's the nice, whatever. Oh, I want to go to America, or whatever. But when you get here and you actually get inside, once you open the door and come inside the house, it's not it's not what you think it is, what you thought on the outside there.
Exactly.
So I'll go into this a little bit. So back in the slavery time, it was probably about maybe maybe 8, 9, 10 years that predated the Civil War or whatever. Where we still had the slave owners, who the master class, who considered themselves the elites of society, who owned the lands, who owned the slaves. But there was also poor whites, there too. And the poor whites and the slaves and stuff, they had like a little, underground thing going where they were kind of friends, and they traded and stuff, and like a little, what we call like, I guess, a little black market or something, where they traded and stuff together, hung out together and stuff, like that. Well, the elite, I guess that was okay for a while, or whatever. But as things started progressing, kind of like with the North and stuff wanting to abolish slavery and all that type of stuff, well, the Southern elites who owned slaves and land and all that stuff, they needed something to get more people on their side. The blacks couldn't vote because we weren't considered people.
Right.
What I'm saying? We were, one fourth or 1/3 of human, whatever they put out there. We weren't considered 100% a person. But the poor whites, the elites could use them to, so if they can turn them against the blacks, the slaves and stuff, like that, and get them on their side and make them think that they were better than us, even though before that, they treated them just like they did
Right.
the slaves. You know, they might have treated them a little bit better, but they still treated them poorly.
Right.
You know, and just as bad as they did the slaves, or you know, whatever. They may have been got. You know, the slaves didn't get paid, but the white people got paid. It might not have been much, but
Right.
but they paid them. You know, and then or bartered with them and traded with them and did stuff, you know, like that. But in order to get them on their side, you know, they turned them against the slaves and made them think that they were better than, you know, better than the slaves. You know,
Right.
they would give them land and, you know, give them, they would give them stuff, you know, you know, whether it was through the government or through their own means of whatever, to get them to turn against the black. And that's kind of how it kind of started, where the working class, the poor and the working class started dividing, because then the whites, you know, it was like, well, you know, it goes back to, you know, yeah, I might be poor and I might be white, you know, or whatever, because they did call them white trash back then. The white people called them, the elites called them white trash back then. Well, I might be poor and I might be white trash, but I'm not a nigger,
Right.
you know, and I'm not them. And then that's how it started, and that's how it has progressed and progressed and progressed now. We can't get rid of segregation because the racism is still there, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it says slavery was able to happen due to a combination of economic, social, and political factors. Throughout history, various societies have sought cheap labor to support agricultural production, mining, and other industries. The transatlantic slave trade, for instance, was driven by European demand for labor in the Americas, leading to the capture and transportation of millions of Africans. Cultural attitudes also played a significant role, as many societies justified slavery through notions of superiority and racism. Legal frameworks and systems of power supported the institution, allowing for the exploitation and dehumanization of enslaved individuals. This complex interplay of factors created an environment where slavery could thrive for centuries. And then, so, you know, so by bringing getting slaves and stuff over here, working for them and stuff, you know, like that, then you know, because before that, you know, even though black people had been over here before that, they just don't want to give us that credit in history. But once we were enslaved or whatever, the poor whites, it made them think they were superior, you know, whatever. And then some of them were upset, like now in this day and age too, where they get upset because they think we took away their jobs, you know, or whatever. And since we were enslaved and working for free, some of them might not have got the labor and jobs and stuff that they probably had before, even though it paid them low wages or whatever, and worked them to death too, you know, or whatever. Some of them were like indentured servants and all other types of stuff too. But then once we're over here and we're working for free, you know, whatever, then it's like, okay, well then we're better than them. You know, at least we're not enslaved and whatever. But so
just keep repeating history.
And so it says, poor whites often turned against blacks during slavery due to a combination of economic competition, social hierarchy, and racial prejudice. And see, like in this day too, people don't want to admit, they still, you know, white people especially, you know, but they don't want to admit that racism is out there. They don't want to be called racist or anything and stuff, you know, like that. Or and they'll do everything a lot of them will do anything they can to say that it's not racism. It's because of this or it's because of that or whatever. But it's still racism. The institution of slavery created a racial caste system that positioned whites, regardless of their economic status, as superior to enslaved Africans. This fostered a sense of unity among poor whites against the common other. You know, and then that's the way we are now. We're the other. You know, they're here, and those are the other people. You know, whatever. And maybe sometimes we might give them something or treat them better or whatever stuff. But mostly they're the other. Despite their own economic struggles. Additionally, slaveholders used tactics to instill fear and resentment, emphasizing that their social and economic well-being depended on maintaining the institution of slavery, which further entrenched divisions between poor whites and enslaved blacks. So you can see kind of how how it started shaping. You know, and we know that it was before then, starting over in Europe and all those types of
Right.
stuff. But you can kind of see how this division, the others,
Right.
started shaping up, pre, pre, say, pre, 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 the civil, the war.
The Civil War.
Yeah. Started shaping up. You see,
Mhm.
and then it started just, and then as the society started progressing, and then even when even after we got the right to vote and stuff, like that, they they started using that again. Well, this worked back there during this time,
Right.
once they started studying history
Mhm.
and saw, okay, well, this worked,
Mhm.
whatever, so we can use this again,
Right.
And then so then Tom Watkins, he said, you are kept apart. He was talking to, I guess, blacks and, slaves and poor white people.
Mhm.
But he said, you are kept apart that you may be separately policed of your earnings. The famous Georgia populist leader Tom Watson told a crowd of black and white laborers in 1892. So you can see how far this, even back then, going back then, where they, it says, you are made to hate each other because upon that hatred is rested the keystone of the arc of financial despotism, which enslaves you both. Key word, financial. Money.
It's
Whatever. In order for us to stay in power,
Mhm.
and to live the life that we're accustomed to, we're going to need these other whites on our side to help us, go against them, turn against them, so, we're going to need them. So we can, and they still stay powerful, but the whites, the poor whites still stay poor.
Right.
Even though they made them, what's that called when they were back in the slave times when they had the people working for them, and then they were whipping the slaves and keeping them in line. Can't think of that right now, but and it's right on the tip of my tongue too. But it was all, it's like financial, just like it is now. If the caste system, it's, these people were up here and these people were down here, but we need these people to keep these people in line so we can stay in power. And the white people, poor white people, lower middle class white people, and up to even middle class white people, they don't even, a lot of them don't even realize this, or that this is how they, how this kind of transpired and stuff. They don't even realize how they were controlled and manipulated, and then they carry that within them now, and not all, but it says elites established and perpetrated segregation, he argued, benefiting in multiple ways. I need to take off my banner because they're always in the way. From benefited in multiple ways from the era of slavery to the struggles of working class people today. Many of the problems plaguing the South and indeed the nation are a direct result of racism. And that's and that's exactly what's going on here. What's going on here today.
Yeah, because I think of what they say, the American dream, but it's not for everybody. It's only for that elite. It's only for, that hand few or whatever. It's not for everybody. It's limited. You say that, everybody can access it, but no, we can't. Even with education, education, everybody can get an education, but you don't give us loans. You don't. I mean, it's crazy with the financial aid or whatever. It's always this red tape you have to go through just to get the same thing. Yeah, for us, just to get the same things you guys promised. The American dream and all this kind of stuff. Healthcare. I mean, it's a lot of us are not even on it because you make it so expensive or whatever, and we have the best of the best or whatever. But you make it so expensive where people can't afford it. It's like you just want people just to die off or whatever. It's just crazy how you know, there's this divide and there's this difference, but you claim to say, oh, we are a successful nation and all the other nations are looking at us or whatever. And I'm like, well, like you say, when you come over here, you see that it's not what they say, the grass is greener, not all the time, you know. So
yeah, I think that's the strangest thing to me is like how the oppressed become the oppressors. You know what I'm saying? They're oppressed and they didn't like being oppressed. They may flee their country. You know, there's people like immigrants and stuff who come over there. They're fleeing from dictatorship.
right.
You know, they're fleeing the oppression and stuff that they were under. But then they come over here and then they want to oppress. It's like they're over here to oppress their own people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like what the comments and the stuff that I've been watching. You know, about the Hispanics. You know, the Latinos and stuff. You know, and some of the blacks, not the majority, because thank God we didn't. Most of us had enough sense not to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you have those. You have the whites, and then you have the and you have these Latinos. Just say the Latinos and the Cubans and stuff. You know, they think that they're white, or they think that they're on the level of white people, you know, or whatever. And even though white people ain't on the level they think that they are, but they think that they are, you know. But then you get these, like some of them came over here as immigrants, you know, didn't have a green card,
Right.
you know, snuck, some of them back then snuck over the border, you know, whatever. And then they get over here and then they may get a job, you know, get jobs or whatever. And then they think, you know, well now, I don't want them other ones coming over here,
Right.
you know, because then they're going to take my job that I got, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, and in their minds, they think that they're better than them. They're putting them in that other category. They think that they're better than their relatives or other people, other immigrants that came over here or that snuck over here illegally or whatever. They done took on that American mindset, you know, that, and it's basically, you know, that white American mindset, you know, that we're better than you are.
Yeah.
You know, whatever, and then they go and oppress their own people. You know, well, and that's what you're hearing them say. You know, the reason why they voted for Trump was because, you know, well, he's going to keep the bad immigrants out, the ones who are committing crimes. Well, you committed a crime because you came over here illegally. That makes you a criminal. And in their mind, they don't see that. They're thinking like somebody who's going out stealing, murdering, abusing, beating up, you know, doing that type of stuff. But they're not looking at the criminalization of them coming over here, sneaking over the border illegally into the country. They're not looking at that as criminal. Right. But that's actually illegal.
It's illegal.
And it's on the book. So, you know, you all are going to be deported back too.
Exactly.
You know, and then just like Trump said, and they're not taking these. Some of them are taking. Oh no, he's not going to really do that or whatever. Okay. You know, just like they said though. You know, when we start sending people back, okay, we're going. You know, the ones that are here illegally or whatever. Then we'll even the ones that are here legally, we'll send their kids back. We'll send their parents back with them. You know, or whatever. Even if they are here illegally, and they didn't hear that. You know, for some reason they're looking at, oh no, they're just talking about them. Right. No, they're talking about them, and they're talking about you and also. Yeah. Right. And then whether you're here legally or not, you all are going to go back. You know, if they got to send them back, and then y'all don't want, you know, you're fighting against them or something. It's like, no, don't take my family or whatever. Right. But then just send them all back. Right. Kind of goes into like that damn history of the Holocaust and stuff, you know, like how you know, so sort of how some of that, you know, how that started coming into play, you know, whatever, because you know they didn't come, you know, I wasn't an immigrant, you know, whatever, so I didn't do anything, right? You know, but I just, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I just let them do whatever harm that they're going to do to them because that's not me, right? You know, whatever, but it actually. It is you. It actually is all of us when they get ready to come for us or for anybody. It can be any of us, you know. So that possibility of, you know, where people think it can't happen or the United States is too strong, or whatever. Well, most countries were strong and had power and stuff, and then they all eventually fell.
Right. It's just like COVID. COVID didn't have a race on it or whatever. It attacked everybody, and that's what they're gonna do. They're not just sitting out. We're just gonna do this. The Hispanics, or we're just gonna do the black. No, they're coming for everybody. They may start here, because when COVID first started, it seemed like it was just taking out the older people, the senior citizens, or whatever. But then it started affecting all, everybody. So it's
everybody, babies, children, younger teenagers, older. It kind of got a whole certain range, but there's always, where it's getting.
Yeah.
What people think it ain't gonna happen to them, or get to them, stuff, like that. That's the same thing with like AIDS and stuff, like when that started or whatever. They wanted to say that it was a gay disease, and it's not a gay disease, or whatever, that it was gay people. No, it actually started with, I think it was like in Africa, and then it was among heterosexual Africans, whatever. By the time it got to the United States, it might have been a gay person who got it, and maybe it passed or whatever. I got to go back and do research on that or whatever stuff. But it wasn't just a gay disease. It affected everybody in the world. It could be, whatever group it is can have HIV or AIDS or whatever. It doesn't. You're not just gay. You can be a woman. You can be black. You can be white. You can be straight. You can be trans. You can be. You could be any ethnicity and gender, and then have HIV or AIDS. So that. I know religious people still want to say that was the wrath of God, but then if it was the wrath of God, then why y'all got it?
Right.
So anyway, populace. A country may become populous due to widespread dissatisfaction with the political establishment, and that's kind of what's happening again now. But the United States, they're always unhappy with the political establishment. Even when everything is good or things is going great, they're always unhappy. Not satisfied or whatever. It says economic inequality or cultural and social changes, and that's part of it too. The cultural and social changes. It's like I don't want to be them. Society is changing, and it's like you said last week. The Hispanics and blacks are having like kids, and then the whites kind of have slowed down. Their birth rate is not as high as Hispanics and black people. Their birth rate is slowed down, and some of that is fear in there too. Like, well, what if they become
the majority?
Yeah, what if they become the majority here in the United States? We don't want to be them. We don't want to experience what they have, what their experience or have experienced. Or what if they treat us the way that we have treated them? And here's the thing: we don't even be thinking that. That's in their head.
Right.
We don't even be thinking whether that we're going to treat y'all this way, treat them. But that's all their shit that's going on in their head. But they do think that, or they're going to take away our wealth and they'll be able to rule the country. And then what then? Or what about us and stuff? And we don't even, most of us, I don't, that I know, the people I know or whatever, they don't even think that, have never even said anything, like that. So,
because we already know we're gifted and talented people. We already know that. And we share spaces with y'all. But y'all don't want to admit and put us in those spaces. But we already know.
And it says popular leaders often capitalize on these sentiments by positioning themselves as outsiders who represent the people against the elite. And that's what Trump did. Okay. He set himself, now he's the elite,
right.
But he set himself up like, I'm not a politician. I'm not like them, whatever. I'm out here and I'm for you. He don't know shit about eggs, the price of eggs. He don't know shit about milk. He don't know anything. People do shit for him. He doesn't do anything himself. But he got them to believe this,
right.
And it's against who represent the people against the elite, promising to address grievances and restore national pride or traditional values. That's what he's been spewing out of his mouth, right? And then the scare tactics and stuff, like that. Economic crisis, political scandals, and ineffective governance can also fuel populist movements. So, and that's exactly. That's exactly what's been going on for these last decades. Right. Kind of starting back, back up again in the 50s and 60s and stuff with that Southern strategy. The people are grieved, you know, and then they're going to go against their own best interests.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And go against somebody who
is not looking
right.
out for them.
He's a knave.
He's not looking
You know,
out for you.
he's a knave. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He has fooled you, or he's a charlatan. He's one of those people back in the old time, and they had their little show, and they came through and pretended like they were doing magic, and had little bottles to say this can cure you, and they had little, you know, all little type of stuff to get people's money, and none of that crap worked and stuff, but people bought into it or whatever. Right. And then that's what's happening, you know, here with him, you know. And then so then we go into, you know, the Holocaust. How did this Holocaust kind of, you know, get started? And it was kind of due to complacency and not, you know, and I'm not them, you know, I'm not one of them or whatever, you know. And then you come in with a Hitler, you know, and he was mental, you know, he had been in the mental institution, and he was a mental case, you know, but he was somehow able to pull people onto his side, you know. Once he turned the people against the media, you know, against other people in society who they considered less than them, and he got the government and the military on his side, he was able to go in there and conquer, you know, and then and do a lot of destruction, you know. And it says the Holocaust was able to happen due to a combination of deeply rooted anti-Semitism, the rise of totalitarian regimes, and the socio-political conditions in Germany and Europe during the early 20th century. Propaganda spread dehumanizing views of Jews and other marginalized groups, portraying them as threats to society. The Nazi regime led by Adolf Hitler implemented systemic policies that escalated from discrimination and segregation to mass extermination. Same stuff that's been happening here. Discrimination and segregation. Okay, this was facilitated by bureaucratic structures, widespread complicity, and the use of state machinery to carry out atrocities. You know, Trump's talking about using the military against people who oppose him. All right. So, and it says the lack of intervention from the international community and the pervasive climate of fear, you know, also contributed. Also contribute to the Holocaust's horrific execution. So, and that's what you know, it's like, you know, it's these scare tactics, it's the fear stuff again, and that's what they're using against them. You know, I got a video in here I'm gonna play a little bit later where he's talking to women on one of his rallies, you know, and he used the scare tactics. You know, they're coming to your neighborhoods, and I'm going to keep you safe, and I'm going to keep them out of your neighborhoods and stuff. And then that's what when people are hearing that type of stuff, you know, they get fearful of their way of life, or they think that people, you know, the others are coming to get them, or are going to attack them or their family or their children, or take something away from them. Right. And then next thing you know, they're voting for him. Right. And then when all of this shit starts happening, because he's incompetent, you know, the people that he's electing to put in power with him in his cabinet and stuff, they're incompetent. Right. And if those Republicans who are already in Congress and stuff don't stand up to him, you know, and then, you know, we're going to be in trouble. And if the people ourselves do not get out there and, I mean, really fight against this, and it's going to be rough, you know, but if enough of us don't get out there and fight against that, you know, we're going to be in an autocracy, you know, in a fascist society. What do we got up here? Some comments?
Damien came in. I think
he's a troll.
I think he's a troll. So
yeah, that's a forever Trumpster.
I asked him, what does it mean? I guess he got scared and left. And not bold enough to say what it means.
Well, they never are. They're cowards. Right. You know, they are cowards, you know, and they're the same ones who are sitting out there screaming, you know, make America great again, you know, God is, you know, God this, and, you know, and so and so, but they're the most hateful people, you know, and those would be the ones probably, you know, they would be the ones who go up there and storm the Capitol, right, you know, or whatever. And that's another thing, you know, never mind. gonna get into that. So, but that's that's what happens. We got people now who who have democratic values, but now they're running scared.
Right.
And and that's how it's going to happen. Our media they're going to turn the media against us, and the media is going to be on their side. They already have Fox. They have all of those right wing. They have all of those right wing stations and stuff where they put through their right wing propaganda.
Right.
We don't really have that much. We have MSNBC, which basically is owned by Comcast, whatever, which is them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got CNN who says that they're partial, whatever. A lot of times they're not as partial as they say they are,
right.
But we don't really have that much to help fight against this type of, what it's going to take the people coming out in the streets,
right.
And lobbying their congressmen and women and stuff, like that, and fighting against this through protests and stuff, for us to keep, try to keep this from happening, keep it at bay or something, like that. But it's when they start turning us against each other, and turning the media against them, then they're on their way,
right?
And then the people start following them, and they become complacent, and I'll
it's the same story. I mean, people have been doing this since day one, bringing in fear. They know if they can get you scared enough, because we'll react to that. We'll react to that because nobody wants to be in a place where they're fearful of their livelihood or whatever. So yeah, that's how they do it. And then they get you to get on their side, and they just use you for their own agenda because they can't do it, but they can do it through you in numbers. So they just get you to do it. And we've seen it all through history. That's how they do it. You drink the Kool-Aid.
right.
And you drink the Kool-Aid and you just go ahead and, get on board.
Right. And it's like the Nazis' big lie theory originates from Adolf Hitler's belief that a lie, if colossal and repeated often enough, would be accepted as truth by the masses. That's what's happening. It's these lies that Trump and what the Republicans have been putting out, basically forever, not, since the nation's been here, basically, but even when they were Democratic, even when they were Democrats before the party switched from Republican to Democrat to whatever, they put out these lies, and they'll put it out, and then slowly people start, this one tells it, or whatever. Then it becomes this even bigger lie, and people start believing that, and then that's how you get them to vote against their own self, and then they're going to vote, and they're voting against our country. They vote,
our freedom.
They're voting against our freedoms. They have voted against their country. They voted against democracy, and a lot of them still don't even see that, and it's not, we still got, before Trump takes power, or whatever, and that's basically because he's going to be like a king. But before he takes power, we got these Democrats in there now. They're not. They're weak. They're not doing anything. They're just talking. They're out there saying, "Oh, well, y'all have the power right now to do some stuff." Yeah, they may come in there after that and reverse it or whatever, but you can make it difficult for them to do anything, and they're not doing it. They're just sitting on there. Oh, what can we do in the next election to do so and so? Whatever. If you don't fix racism and sexism, if we can't fix that at least to a greater degree, whatever, then ain't shit gonna happen because they're gonna be in power. But what y'all can do now, there's stuff that they can do now to kind of ward some of this stuff off, and they're not doing it. They're just they're on there doing their talking points and stuff, like that.
Right. They're getting ready for the next election, but no, we still got all these 4 years, or what we have now, and then you can have time to get all that together and work out what you're gonna, what your message is gonna be. But what can you do right now while you still have the power?
So, so then it says in his book, Mein Kampf, and that's the book that Trump read. He even bragged about that's what he reads. He reads Hitler stuff, and people they didn't even grasp that. It just went like right over their head.
Right.
But it says in his book, Mein Kampf, Hitler suggests that people would believe a big lie more readily than a small one because they themselves often told little lies in daily life, but would never fabricate something so grandiose. This concept was used as a propaganda tool by the Nazis to manipulate public perception and spread anti-Semitic ideology, among other falsehoods, to consolidate power and justify their actions. To consolidate power. To consolidate power. And that's what this is all about. It's about power and staying in power. And so we can use racism, sexism, misogyny, homophobia. We can use that to turn, the Republicans. We can use that to turn our small majority into a bigger majority. So if we can get some of them over here, then that'll add to our majority, and then we can turn this society into what we want it to be. Almost like a fascist theocracy, actually, because they would love for it. There's a lot of them which the religious right works there. They be working, to turn this. They would love to have the United States as a theocracy. And all we did was study Christianity, and everybody had to comply.
Right.
And if you don't comply, what did they do back in those ancient times, in the medieval times, and during when you didn't comply with their cut off their hands, cut off their eyeballs, cut off an ear, we're gonna take off a foot and a finger, whatever, or killed you, hung you, or chopped off your neck on that, whatever. So when you didn't comply, or you said something against the king or the dictator or the queen, or whatever, and then if something they went against and they didn't like it or whatever, then, off with your head. Okay.
You know what this reminds me of too? It kind of reminds me, and it amazes me that Christians really don't get it, because it reminds me of the Garden of Eden. How it says like the snake, and believe it or not or whatever, I don't whatever. But I'm just saying, just as the story and the meaning of it, it came in subtle, and it told whispered a lie or whatever, and she fell for it. And because of that lie, that lie just destroyed everything.
And now they consider her the women weak because Eve ate whatever.
Because she ate the fruit. But it's the same tactic. It starts with a lie. Everything was fine. They were fine. They were fine in the garden. They had everything they needed. Even though they were naked, they didn't want for anything. It was fine just being naked in the garden or whatever. But that lie, it always starts with a lie. And because we don't do our research, we just fall on board with the lie. And it's the same. That's how they do. They start with a lie, and that's how they get you, because they don't expect you to go research the truth. They don't expect you.
They don't want you.
Yeah, they don't want you.
They're banking on that now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. No, that if people actually went out and researched and learned their history and the truth, because it is true. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. Okay, and that's what we're doing now. Yeah. You're 100% correct. They don't want you to go out and learn the truth, because if you learn the truth, they're going to find out. Right. You're about to find out what the truth is now, because now you voted against your own interests. You voted against democracy. You voted against the people who were out there trying to help you and to give you some help and some relief, whatever. You voted against that. So now you're about to find out. Okay. Now you're about to find out, and the price of silence. First they came for the immigrants, and I did not speak up because I was not an immigrant. Then they came for the teenage mothers, and I did not speak up because I was not one of them. Then they came for the gays and lesbians, and I did not speak up because I was not lesbian or gay. Then they came for the people of color, but as they left me alone, I did not speak up. Then they came for the Jews, the elderly, the radicals, the farmers, the disabled, the trade unionists, the poor, the artists. But I believe they were doing it for me, and I did not speak up. Then they came for me. And by then, there was no one left to speak up.
Nobody left.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's what complicity, complicity,
Mhm.
Yeah,
we just sit around, just let it happen to us.
Right. and if we do that, if you know what I mean, if we do that, we're gonna, we're gonna have to push back America. Even, I mean, some of it I don't even want to, because I'm so angry at those Latinos. You know what I'm saying? I'm angry at the Latinos. I mean, with the whites and stuff, and I'm actually angry at the white women, a lot of them too, because they voted against their own interests, their own health,
Right.
Their own livelihood, or whatever, which has, against a sexist, misogynist, male society, dominated society, or whatever. And then they put, they voted against their own interests, and they put other women, in peril.
Right.
So, I'm kind of angry at that. I'm angry at that. I'm angry at, the Latinos. I'm angry at some of these blacks, the ones, that percentage that did go out there and vote for them, against that, you voted against yourself and you voted against us. So, I'm kind of angry at that type of stuff, but y'all are sitting back and you're allowing, and those are going to be the ones that's going to allow it to happen.
Yeah.
They may not come out and help us go out there and protest against Trump, or to go against this government that we're going to have, whatever, because I don't believe whatever. They're going to be complacent, and they're going to comply. Okay. And then that's going to put the rest of us in jeopardy. So, and then, so we get out of there, and then we start moving into, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and then where they came up with this Southern strategy, because, the Southern strategy was developed by Republican Party leaders in the 1960s, notably by political strategist Kevin Phillips under Richard Nixon's campaign. It aimed to attract disaffected white Southern voters by appealing to their racial and cultural concerns. And, they've been doing that for a while, when they talk about the coal miners, the coal industry, the manufacturing industry, and stuff. Oh, well, the jobs are going away from the manufacturing stuff. Well, we're kind of into this tech stuff now. We've progressed, and we got so much robots and stuff, AI, and we got other, we got so much invention, stuff that's been invented where it's not where they took away your job and stuff, in a way they did, because they got these other careers and other stuff out there now that you have to learn in order for us to progress. Because if we don't, we're gonna, we will fall behind. Those type of jobs are done by machines a lot of the times now. And then and that's just kind of the way the world is going. And then those people, they feel they feel disaffected. I mean, they feel affected, or whatever, because they may have lost their jobs or whatever. But then some of them didn't go out to a trade school or try to learn, how this new technology that's been coming up, and they've been saying that's going to be happening and it's coming out there. So some of them didn't get on there and learn that type of stuff, and it actually hindered them. And the ones who did learn it, those are the ones who get out there getting these jobs and stuff. And the other ones are still back there, still waiting on something that will never come back. Coal is not going to be coming back like that the way it was. Manufacturing is not going to be coming back the way that it was, because we have machines and stuff that do that now, and you need fewer people to run the type of stuff. So you got to go update your skills, or something. And some people just aren't willing to go update their skills, because some people don't want to read and learn or to do it. And some people can't read or learn, because they didn't get the education or whatever to where they're able to get into it. But they can still go back and try to learn some more, read and get some more schooling or something, to learn how to, if they couldn't read or whatever, to, try to get into some of these skills, these jobs or whatever. And then, so that resentment, they have turned it, like the Republicans have turned it like it's the Democrats who are doing this, like making us out to be the elitists. Some of them are elitists, just like some of them are elitists, but they making us out to be the elitists and the or non-religious party,
Right.
and stuff, like that. And
Right.
it's not true, but that's the
Right.
way they made it out. And people who are followers, are easily led and whatever.
Mhm.
They buy into that, and then they turn against their own,
Mhm.
whatever, and turn against their own interests,
And like you say, we have the AI and stuff like that. And yeah, some jobs, are kind of going away or being a little limited now. You don't need as many people, whatever. But the thing about that too is that, yeah, we are progressing as a nation. We are getting more, um, invention minded and making things a little bit easier. Cars can drive themselves now, and I mean, but we've seen that through history. Microwaves, everything has changed. Refrigerators. I mean, you can go to the refrigerator and it talks to you. Alexa, Siri, or whatever. But the thing about it is, Democrats, even though they know that we are progressing and evolving as a nation, they still put plans and programs in place to where that, yeah, we are doing that, but we'll get you some schooling. We'll get you some training. We'll have this, this center here where you can go and learn how to use a computer, whatever. Republicans, they just want to wipe you all out. Like Elon, he just want to wipe you all out. If you don't know it, you just don't know it. But a Democratic person, the Democratic Party, even though they know that's where we're going, they will put stuff in place to help you get there. Now you have to take advantage of it. The program is just not going to, drop in your lap or come to your front door. You will have to go out and, go to these centers, these training centers or whatever, but at least they're there.
Right.
But a Republican, they don't care about all that, or the elite or whatever. They don't care. They just want to see change or whatever and just leave you behind. And so now you're poor, you're struggling, you don't know where your next meal is coming from because they don't care.
And the Republicans don't, the Republicans up in, higher up in office and stuff, they don't care about you poor Republicans, whatever. They just need jobs to get them elected so that they can, get in there to be get up there so they can live that lifestyle, or whatever. They don't give a shit about you all. And because if it did, all of this stuff from the from the Nixon era, the Reagan era, the Bush era, even when Trump was in office in 2016, whatever, even that, none of that has trickled down to you all. The poor have stayed poor. And the only relief they get is because the Democrats have put forth these laws to help y'all. No, it ain't like we have to get, we have to give you everything. Like we're the party of giving, but we are the party that tries to help with relief and stuff for people who are poor, people who do need some help and assistance and stuff. It's not the Republicans who are for that. The Republicans are for the elite and for money, but they have fooled you all into thinking that they are for y'all. But the thing of it is, look at your life, okay? You still stay a point ahead or a point below or lower than where you are now. Whatever. That's because the Republicans are suppressing.
Right.
They're suppressing your wages. They're suppressing the job. They're doing this type of stuff to keep you in that mode of thinking so that you vote for them. But nothing has trickled down to you. Because if it was, you would be higher up and still not complaining and whining and arguing about the lot that you're in.
Right.
My jobs, the economy, and stuff, like that. There's nothing wrong with the economy is stronger than it has probably been in 40, 50 years. Okay. And they don't want to, you can tell them that, but they don't want to believe that, So that's how we know that they, they're like the ones who voted, they didn't go research, they're uneducated, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are uneducated. Some of them didn't go do the research to even know that the economy was in great shape, or whatever. But Trump is about to F that all up, and we're going to be back into that, back again, where the economy is jacked up, everybody's going to really be mad and angry and upset with each other, and they're really, and turn against each other, and that's what they want to have.
Because it's only going to benefit a few or whatever. And case in point, Obamacare, he's like, healthcare, it is expensive. The pharmaceutical companies are making all this money and all this kind of stuff or whatever. But I know you need it. I know that, you guys are suffering or whatever. Let me put a program that's affordable or whatever. Nobody on the Republican side was, so much, very few were, on board with that or whatever. And they fought him or whatever. And I think Trump tried to take it away, right? Or whatever, or rename it or whatever. But it's like, at least Democrats care. At least they put a system in place or whatever. I mean, because we want to be healthy people. He was concerned about our health, and he knew that things they were getting expensive. I mean, we have the best of the best, and I think we have the best doctors, the best technology or whatever. And should they, get all that money? They probably should, because I mean, whatever. But everybody can't afford all of that. So he came up with a program, a plan to say, okay, let's make this affordable for people that can't or whatever. And I think that was very kind. I think that was very nice. I think that's what America needed. And I think that's what people fail to see. All they see is, this guy over here saying, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. But then he's not looking out for you.
Trump's not looking
He's
out.
not looking out for
Republicans
you.
they're not looking out for the average American.
Mm-mm.
They are not, but you can't get them to believe that.
Right.
And that's why they're turning against that's why they're turning against the country and turning against democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And then so like here go Lee Atwater actually saying this, right?
Mm-hmm.
How I would approach that issue as a statistician or a political scientist, or no, as a psychologist, which I'm not, is how abstract you handle the race thing. In other words, you start out, and now y'all are quoting me on this. You start out in 1954 by saying nigger, nigger, nigger. By 1968, you can't say nigger. That hurts you, it backfires. So you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now. You're talking about cutting taxes, and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things. And the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing, and a hell of a lot more abstract than nigger, So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
So you see how it's following the pattern from slavery, and then it goes and moves on into the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And see, he was actually during the Ronald Reagan era. So he helped Ronald Reagan with using the helping them demonize the blacks, because that's what that back in Ronald Reagan it was really against black people mainly. The welfare people. They're on food stamps. They're getting supplements from the government. We're the takers and stuff. And they turned, even though it was more white people on welfare and getting food stamps, just like it is today.
Like today,
believe it or not, most black people are not on welfare or getting food stamps and stuff. There are those that that are poor or whatever. I mean, or need help and stuff, like that. Just like with anybody. But in the United States, there's more. Even though there are more white people, but there's still more white people that are on welfare and get subsidies, aid, and get aid and stuff, like that. But you see how, he was, how he was telling them to use the code, like it's coded language. Don't say this,
right?
And don't say that, because if you say this, they're going to call you a racist, or whatever. And we don't want to be seen as racist or sexist or misogynist. We don't want to be seen that. So instead of saying it this way, say it this way. Instead of doing it this way, do it that way. And then it's coded, and it makes them look good, and then it pulls the other ones onto their side to make them think that they're actually for them when they're actually against them. And then so then we move from there, and then we move into the Trump era. So it says the Republicans including Donald Trump, have utilized elements of the Southern strategy. See how they're going back to it?
Mhm.
They keep going back to the past.
Right.
You know,
Right.
they're going back, and they, you know, they're going back because they know the history, and they know what to do to get the people on their side,
Right.
or whatever. So they're going
Right.
back to the same playbook strategy. Okay?
Mhm.
The Republicans, including Donald Trump, have utilized elements of the Southern strategy to appeal to white, rural, and conservative voters. You know, by focusing on issues such as immigration, law and order. The immigration, that's the, you know, the Latinos, Hispanics, and whatever, and the Haitians and stuff, you know, like that. That, you know, and then law and order, that's for the black folks.
Oh,
You know,
right.
you know, because they think we're criminals, and they think that we're murderers and killers. You know, they're afraid of, you know, they
Right.
say they're afraid of us.
They racial
whatever.
profile us, you know.
Right. Law and order, and then economic populism. Okay. So they're going to go after, get the poor people onto their side and make them think that they're going to give them something,
Right.
or whatever. And that they're going to make them think that it's the Democrats
Mhm.
who have messed up the economy, and that's the reason why they're in the lot that they're in.
Right.
This approach often involves invoking themes of nationalism and resistance. When they talk about national, make America, you know, make America great again. God bless the troops. And
Now that's the worst. That Christian nationalism. That's the worst.
This approach often involves invoking themes of nationalism and resistance to perceived liberal policies, aiming to mobilize a base that feels threatened by demographic and cultural changes in the United States. And that's what it is. You know, we talked about it earlier. You know, they feel threatened by the blacks and the Hispanics and stuff, you know, coming up, you know, taking something from them or whatever. And, you know, we don't want to be in their position.
Right.
You know, whatever, don't take from us. So whatever we got to do to stay up here, even if we ain't got nothing,
Right.
we're still better than them.
Exactly.
You know, cultural changes in the United States. The strategy seeks to consolidate support by leveraging racial and cultural anxieties, similar to its historical roots in the mid-20th century. And I'll take that even back further, in the mid-20th century, and even back into the slavery, which was the 19th century, which, you know, because you're always, so the 18th century is the 19th century, basically. You know,
Right.
19th century is the 20th century.
Right.
You know, however that, you know, that's weird, but that's how it works. You know, but going back to like the 18 whatever, you know, when they started turning the whites against the slaves. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Just to repeat, like you said, it's the same playbook, the same
Right.
strategy. They know what works.
right, and they're gonna implement the you know, the Project 2025. So part of this, you know, with that Southern strategy or whatever, and that's what they've been working on since the 60s. A lot of people don't even realize a lot of that stuff that's in Project 2025. Some of it originates from the, you know, from the 40s, 50s, and 60s, when they were trying to consolidate power and turn people against each other. Then, you know, whatever, they took some of that, they just modernized it.
Right.
You know, or whatever. But they've been working on this for 30, 40 years.
Right.
You know, and now this is their chance now to use Trump as their puppet. You know, like we said before, they don't care about him. You know, he don't care about them either. But they don't care about him. But they need him to work their devil magic. You know, but then they're going to pretend like they're the angels.
Right.
They're actually the wolves in sheep clothing that they
Exactly.
talk about in the Bible.
Mhm.
Those Christians and those nationalists and the white people and some of those black people and the Hispanic people, y'all are actually the wolves in sheep clothing.
Right.
So, and then, and you know, there was the plan right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of the stuff that, you know, what they you know, their plan to implement that or whatever. But now we done voted Trump in. Now they can they can go ahead and start implementing that. And it's gonna, if you actually read that type of stuff, you know, some of it may not come true. You know, it might not be possible or whatever. It just depends on, you know.
Well, he has 4 years to do it.
Well, he may, unless he dies in the office. But even if he dies in the office, we got crazy ass Vance. If Vance gets it, because they might pass it on to one of his kids or somebody else. You know what I'm saying? But once they implement it, and if they can turn this country into an autocracy, it doesn't matter who they elect or whatever, because we're never going to have any power
Right. We
to
can't vote.
have any checks or balances,
Right.
because they're not going to follow the Constitution,
Right.
and they're going to stay in power just like Putin and them are. Some of them other dictators are in there
Mhm.
now. They stay in power even though they lose the election.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Even if we have another vote or whatever, if the system is rigged, if they got to elect, because of whatever his name is, what's the guy's name? The one who owns Twitter,
Oh, Elon.
and those are his machines, and
Yeah.
so they can rig those for the rest, have them rigged for the rest of whatever. So
Yeah.
we're never gonna, you know what I'm saying?
If we use them,
Mhm.
we might not even use them.
And I hate to go into conspiracy theory, but some don't seem right, because it's always the Republicans who are trying to cast out our votes, to keep us from voting, to
Mhm.
keep people from voting, to keep, they're the ones who are standing in there, like coming to the polling machines with guns and stuff,
Right.
standing out there scaring people.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are destroying these ballot boxes or burning up burning up ballot boxes and stuff. The Democrats are not doing anything like that. The Democrats are trying to get you out there to vote, and then the Republicans are trying to suppress your vote. People don't even see that. They think that's okay. But if we did that, if we were the ones who were doing that, it would be like a total different story.
Yeah.
It would be just like if Obama was when he was president, they didn't, everything they were against and stuff, but the stuff that Trump's doing, the stuff that they excuse that he does, grabbing women by the pussy,
Right.
all of these crimes and stuff that he's been in with his businesses,
Mhm.
the bankruptcies, the prostitutes. I mean, just all the stuff that he says and does, and the lies and deceit that he tells. They believe that, and they overlook it. And as them saying they're Christians,
Right.
they overlook all of that. But then they talked about Obama like a dog. You know what I'm saying? And everything they were against. They talked about Michelle. Michelle was probably she was the smartest first lady we ever had. She had more education, the smartest, had more credentials than any first lady that had. But Melania is probably the one who don't have shit.
Nothing.
I mean, she's probably the first lady who didn't, probably the most ignorant of all of any first lady we've ever had.
She's an immigrant.
And she was an immigrant, and he's trying to deport immigrants, but he married an immigrant, and some of his other wives have been immigrants.
Yeah.
People don't see the hypocrisy.
Mhm.
The people that he has elected. I don't know if they haven't been elected yet, but he has them up for his cabinet and stuff. They're all they're sex offenders, they're abusers.
Yeah.
They're fraudsters.
Yes.
They got so many schemes. A lot of them got schemes and stuff going on so they can keep themselves in power.
Mhm.
Ugly ass Marjorie ass Green. Going against talking about the trans, and she looked like she could be a man.
Right.
I mean, we don't know what you know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
This is the people that they're putting up there, to help them keep themselves in power.
Right.
They don't know anything. I mean, they're going to jack. The economy's really going to be jacked up,
Right.
because they don't know anything.
Right. And what gets me about like the religious people, I feel like the only reason why they go for Trump and Republicans is because Republicans have a hard stance on abortion, stuff like that. And so to them, life really matters. I mean, it matters to us as well. However, what happens when it comes to Black lives? What happens when it comes to Hispanic lives? What happens when it comes to, other nationalities or ethnicities or whatever? They don't care about them or whatever, because if you did, you wouldn't do the things you do. Like when, George Floyd and, the people, they just go in their house and just shoot them and kill them or whatever. Even if we're just having a peaceful protest and you're out here with guns and, rifles and stuff shooting us or whatever, I don't think life really matters to you guys. You say it does, but it's only your lives that matter. It basically is what you're saying or whatever. Then you get mad because we have a organization called Black Lives Matter. Like you assume that we're saying that only Black lives matter, and that's not what we're saying. We're saying our lives matter too. or whatever, because you think, from what I'm seeing, is that your life is the only thing that matters. But you want to stand with a party, that's against abortion because they believe life. But what about everybody else's life as well? I don't see where it pans and covers everybody. So yeah, I don't see how religious people just because he's for or against abortion or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not really for everybody. It's like the caste system. It's really for upper middle class, because they have a favorable view of upper middle class to rich to filthy rich.
Mhm.
That's kind of where they really would like it to be.
Right.
And then even though they'll have everybody else here too, but we'll be working for slave wages,
Yeah.
whatever, to keep us oppressed and
Mhm.
stuff, and dependent on them, and to look to them for our safety and security and our well-being. And it's going to be a false lie that they put
Right.
put out there, and then it's going to be enough people who follow that, who think, who think that's there's some people just want to be led. Some people want to be,
Yeah.
and it's like, like we talked about the people, the immigrants that are coming over here, fleeing these authoritarian countries,
Mhm.
whatever, but they're used to being under authoritarian rule,
Right.
and for some reason, then they get over here and then they want to turn this country into an authoritarian rule because that's what they're used to being under, even
Like
though it
swap
didn't,
leaders.
even though they didn't like it and then it didn't work for them when they were under it, but then they want to come over here and then want to, and maybe they think that might get them up to power, put them, get them up the ladder to power. I don't know, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like you say, yeah, they you're already under that kind of leadership. Then you come over here, and you get right back under. You just swap one leader for another. You're still being oppressed or whatever. You think it's better, but when you come over here, you actually see for yourself. But another thing too that I think America does too, as far as like the criminal system or whatever, like they racial profile people. They you just don't get a fair shot, when it's in the court system. It's like when you show up as your authentic self, as a black person. I can only speak for black people because I'm black. Where's the fair trial? Where's the fair treatment? And then when you do, and that's why I say the system really just doesn't work for us. And when you do get them behind bars, then you want them to work with no pay, and they're building this, they're building that. So it's like you're in slavery. So to me, the jail system most of the time is just slavery because you're working, you're building or whatever. They got you working, you're not even getting paid for it. And they're talking about, oh, you're getting time, you're getting good time or whatever. But that may be years from now. You may die in there. You may you may never get out. So it's like the jail system has taken. I mean, now the new slave field is the jail system. So yeah, but it's supposed to be the land of the free, and everyone's supposed to have a chance. But you racial profile us. You're always coming against us. There's always an in and out to when it comes to y'all, but there's never an in and out to us. We always get the the bad end of the stick or whatever the saying is.
Yeah, because they say, I mean, if you kind of look at Turkey, that's like that used to be a democracy and it has turned into an autocracy, and it's just fucked up. And a lot of people, I mean, probably if we went to, which is possible, but it just say we turned into a autocracy, we would probably be more like Turkey, starting off, and then it'll probably evolve into like a like a North Korea and those type of places where they or it may lean more towards China, where they still control the media, they control stuff or whatever, but the people still are, they still have oppressive rules and stuff, but they're still pretty much free. But because North Korea, they're just really under that you know, but we'll probably be like Turkey, you know, starting off being, you know, that type of autocracy, but it could lean into a worse kind of, you know, worse and go into, you know, depends on how crazy he is and how compliant and complicit the Republicans and some of the American people are to his rule. You know what I'm saying? Because it says Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, has been a controversial figure due to his government's policies approach to governance. Critics argue that he has undermined democratic institutions by centralizing power. That's what Trump wants to do. He wants all the power to be in the executive branch,
Right.
which would take it away from the House and the Senate, you know, and then overrule the Supreme Court. You know, so he wants you know, the power where he makes the rules, and then everybody else is supposed to comply and just follow what he say, or the people that he put in power we're supposed to blindly follow and do what they say. Critics argue that he has undermined democratic institutions by centralizing power, controlling the media. That's what I'm getting ready to play a video here of where the media start to now kiss his ass. You know, now that he's back in, they're going in there trying to, you know, it's like, oh, what can we do now? Even though they done talk bad about him, you know, the people done called him all type of names and done did everything called him everything under the sun but a child of God, I guess, you know, or whatever. And now they're backpedaling, you know, backbiting and go, oh, well, what can we do to get in his good graces so he don't come, you know, so he don't come for us, you know, we'll let him get them, you know, they're going to do them harm and let them do them, but he's not going to come for us because we're going to kiss his ass, you know, and now we're going to be on our side, even though we were against him, you know, or whatever. And then, but what, like we said earlier, but eventually they come for you. Okay, but once you get the media and stuff on your side too, they're going to put out that false propaganda, and they're going to be putting out the shit that he wants people to hear and what he wants them to know and whatever he's saying. And the Republicans are going to put out their false narratives and put it out there and across the airwaves, and they're going to expect the media to comply. And if they don't comply, they can be jailed or people have them assassinated secretly and all that type of stuff too. But that's what, you know, if he controls the media, then that's the narrative that's coming out on it. Even over our YouTube and TikTok and X, all of that type of stuff, they'll control the narrative, and then that's the stuff that they're going to put out there. And eventually, people start believing that too. You know, like, oh, you know, because they're not seeing any of the positive or the real stuff. The truth is coming over the media. All they're seeing is the negative and all of that other stuff, and they're going to comply with that, thinking that that's the truth, and then they're going to stay oppressed.
Because if you get the media, you got the people. Because everything now is the media. Like my phone media, the TV media, your computer. I mean, everything. We're media driven. So if they get that, then
it says controlling the media, altering the Constitution. You know, because if they don't follow the Constitution, you know, with the Republicans having full control of everything, they can go in there and create other amendments, to, you know, other codicils and amendments to the Constitution, in addition to the amendments that they can make amendments that override the amendments that we already have. If we don't have enough Democrats in the House or the Senate to veto that, you know, and override the type of stuff, they can change the Constitution. I mean, it'll probably be hard as hell, you know, or whatever, because really it's the states who have to, you know, you got to have so much of the states that go, you know, to say, yeah, we can ratify this Constitution, or we can, you know, ratify this or whatever. But if the states don't go along with it, it's, you know, but that doesn't even matter, because they can just overlook the Constitution like they're going to overlook the law, you know, because if you have the judges and policemen, the military, because in the military, you know, they have all, you know, they had those and they still do have those KKK in there. Some of them only went in there so they can learn all of that type of stuff. So when they come out, they can come out and use it against the country and stuff, you know, like that. But, you know, the law enforcement is infiltrated with white supremacists and KKK. You know, our judicial system is infiltrated with supremacists and KKK.
Yeah.
You know, and in our government, you know, look how many of them are in that Republican Party. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Trump is one.
He's one.
So, you know, his government also has been accused of corruption and using nationalism, and that's what they're doing now, using the nationalism, you know, make America great again,
Right.
you know, or whatever, to consolidate support while while stifling dissent. And they want to keep us they don't want the truth out there,
Right.
you know, so they're going to, you know, burn in books and stuff, you know, like that, burn in history, you know, silence it. They get control of the media, they can silence the democratic part of society, you know, and then you know, and push their own agenda.
And like those whistleblowers, they're gonna definitely silence them, you know.
And these actions have raised concerns about the erosion of democratic norms. Yeah. And we're going to need whistleblowers. We're going to need the whistleblowers to, you know, to help with this corruption, because it's going to be so much corruption. It already is corruption up there, and it was so much corruption in his last administration. You know, and it's going to be in this one. It's going to be even more corruption. You know, because there's not going to be the checks and balances to stop them, and it's going to be so much corruption. You know,
we're gonna need journalists that, you know, won't just run with his agenda. You know, those journalists that. And even though she's not a journalist, but she comes to my mind when I'm thinking of the person that I would like to see, you know, that will be on the front lines. Jasmine Crockett. That girl, I don't know if you saw the recent video. I saw it about the oppression thing. And she was like, yeah, I don't know what oppression was. I love her.
And DEI. And they're the ones DEI.
Yeah.
You know, but that's a smoke and mirror. Goes back to the Southern strategy to not, you know, we're going to say this instead of saying that. So instead of saying welfare, you know, whatever, or, you know, given that, you know, that they're taking this or so and so, we're going to say, now we're going to use DEI as if it's something bad.
Right.
You know, and it just means diversity, equity, and inclusion. You know, who would be against this? I mean, if you say you're a Christian and you're a man and woman of God, you know, whatever, then where, you know, where's your, you know what I'm saying? But you're not for diversity, equity, or inclusion, but you say you are a Christian and you're a person of God.
Right.
That doesn't even make sense. That's hypocrisy in the making. You know, but again, they'll take that and turn it to their own advantage. Like, well, no, the Bible said, you know.
First off, that whole scripture they always repeat at the football game and stuff like that. John 3:16, for God so loved the world. That's inclusion right there. So your God is even and is an include, you know, he's inclusive or whatever. And so I don't get it. They pick and choose, they cherry pick, you know, what they want to go for and what they're against or whatever. When God, you know, if that's the God you believe, he's for all or whatever. But why would you not want diversity and inclusion? That's crazy.
And so, you know, and to go back to your point about the media. So, and I'm gonna play this little clip here, and it's from MSNBC. You know, of Joe and Mika. You know, all these years they've been calling him a dictator, a fascist. They called him everything. You know, and then the minute he won, then they head down to Mar-a-Lago secretly to have a meeting with him. You know, and you know, people are just pissed off. You know, I mean, everybody is like pissed off, you know, except for the MAGAs and all of that. But you know, people are pissed off because that's like you're like a traitor. You know, he called them all type of names. You know, he called Joe a murderer and all other type of stuff. He talked about blood bleeding out of Mika's pussy and all of that type of and out of her pores, and you know, you know, because of her facelifts and all that stuff, or her plastic surgery. You know, he called them all type of stuff, you know, talked bad about them and their families and everything. And then they've been talking bad about him. You know, they called him fascist and dictator, all type of, you know, different type of stuff in the country. If he became president and stuff again, the country would turn into autocracy and stuff. But the minute that he won, you know, whatever, they went down there and bowed down to his feet and basically kissed his old dirty ass shoes. bowing down so they can be in favor, and they think, okay, well, let me get this out of here, whatever. So so now he won't come for me,
right?
But in the end, they're gonna come for you too.
He's eventually gonna get to you,
right? I mean, it's and so I'll play these two little videos here, and one of them is like satire. It's not like real. It is real, but it ain't real because there's actually a comedian who's portraying them, or whatever. But it's
there's truth in it,
right? It is true because there's they have like the text messages, emails, and stuff that was sent where these this lead, some of the leaders or whatever were saying stuff about Trump and the Republicans and the government and stuff, like that. And then they but now that he won, then they're like backbiting. So the second one is kind of satire, but it's true.
Yeah.
Okay. And the first one, they just went and threw all of us under the bus so they can save their own skin. So they can stay in power,
right?
And we're still we're still going to be at the top echelon, and make this type of money,
right.
And stuff, like
no
that.
one wants to lose their spot,
right?
Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. We had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we? Joe and I realized it's time to do something different. And that starts with not only talking about Donald Trump, but also talking with him.
You see what I mean? That's how it starts with the media,
right?
And once you start getting them on your side, and we don't have that much on our side as far as like Democratic media,
right?
You got that right wing propaganda media networks and stuff, like that, and channels and all of that stuff out there pushing that type of stuff. We don't have that much,
right.
And now they're taking, even though. Like my mother watches MSNBC. I quit watching them a few years ago, or whatever. It was just the rhetoric and the bullshit. And I can get my news and stuff. I can pull up different stuff. What I want to, what I'm looking for, and I can find that type of stuff and find the truth and stuff out there instead of some of this propaganda and stuff that some of these commentators and pundits and stuff are pushing off of these cable network shows.
Right.
They're kind of becoming obsolete anyway, because most people are going to the internets,
right,
looking for their stuff, researching and stuff through there.
But you're right. There's not a lot of trusted media outlets now, and now I just got a new agreement from Facebook and Instagram, I think it was, where they're changing their terms of agreement, and we already know Elon Musk is changing Twitter or whatever. So it's like, even if you were to put something out there, either he's gonna take it down or there's gonna be like a warning on it. You can even see it on YouTube now, where like if you put a video, there's like this disclaimer at the bottom or something. So they're marking stuff now, so it's like we don't really have that freedom of speech anymore, really, which we were told that, that was one of the ideals that we could have in this country. Now they're taking that away.
Right.
You know.
And so here's the other video I'm gonna show, the one that's satirical.
Mhm.
So yeah, it is a satire, but it's true.
Yeah.
This text messages and emails and stuff were true, and then they were confronted.
Mhm.
And we played that last week on our other one where the guy was confronted.
Yeah.
And he was backpedaling and stuff.
Right.
And then and that's and then when you get those world leaders on your side, then those other ones, and then they turn out to be corrupt and stuff too.
Mhm.
It's just going to be a
So, Minister, Donald Trump is president-elect once again. What are your thoughts on his emphatic win? Well, look, obviously, I congratulate Donald Trump on his victory, and I look forward to working with his administration over the next 4 years. You've got some bridges to build with him, though, haven't you? Given that in January 2017, you said, Donald Trump is a neo-Nazi and a disgusting sexual predator. God help the United States. The Prime Minister and I have already had several meetings with President Trump in order to maintain a healthy relationship that benefits both countries, and I think that's what's important right now. When you met the President, did he mention this tweet you wrote back in March 2017 when you said, "How can anyone spend time with Donald Trump and not come to the conclusion that he's an unscrupulous, egotistical, misogynistic fascist? God, I hate him." What I'm focused on is making sure that our strong working relationship with the United States continues under President Trump and his team. Even though you said this in July 2017, Donald Trump is contemptible, vile and odious, a tornado of corruption and depravity in a flappy blue suit. He makes me sick. Donald Trump is a man who speaks as he finds, but I think that it's important that we find some common ground in the national interest, and that's what myself and the Prime Minister are focused on doing in the coming months. So presumably you no longer think what you tweeted in December 2017 when you said, "Anyone who tries to forge working relationships with Trump is an unprincipled, morally bankrupt charlatan who should be treated with contempt and total disdain. I don't care who you are, if you want to work with that fascist monster, you're a piece of shit." The transatlantic relationship is one of the most important relationships that the UK has, and I don't think that bringing up tweets that I posted several years ago should have any bearing on what we're trying to achieve today. Even though you said in January 2018, oh God. Don't ever forget these things I'm saying about Donald Trump. Seriously, if you find me reeling off some spurious bullshit in years to come about looking forward to working with Donald Trump because he's been re-elected, God forbid, then take it as read that I've sold my soul for the sake of my political career and should be kicked in the face for the rest of my life by the people who voted for me. So much has changed in 8 years, and I think that it's incumbent upon us to extend the hand of friendship to President Trump for the sake of national and financial security. Okay, if that's the case, perhaps you should also change your profile photo. Oh, shit.
The knaves within. Okay, the knaves within.
Deflection 101. He
Mhm.
deflected but Vance was like that too. Vance had said some things about Trump, and then he had to come back and say,
Right.
well, I've changed and blah blah. Yeah.
And I'm so sick of that common ground shit. They've been talking that forever.
Yeah.
We got to come to common ground. That common ground is only when the Republicans are in power,
Right.
Because when the Democrats in power, they don't come and meet us and do common ground. We rarely get them to even cross over 1 or 2 or 3 votes. Every now and then we might get 1 or 2 or 3 votes out of them, but mostly that party sticks together, and then they vote unanimously to take away, or not to give.
Right.
They don't. It is no common ground with them. It's no common ground with the religious right or any of them. But they expect it out of us. They want us to comply, and then if we have a little power or whatever, but when they're in power, there is no common ground.
Right.
So that's a hypocrisy right there too.
Yeah.
So, and then Timothy Snyder's quote: "Do not obey in advance. Encourages individuals to think critically and resist conforming to unjust authority or societal pressures before the need arises. It emphasizes the importance of independent thought and moral integrity, suggesting that one should not preemptively comply with expectations that may lead to complicity in wrongdoing." And that's exactly what Mika and Joe did.
Right.
They went and they obeyed they went and obeyed in advance.
Right.
You know, he hasn't even gotten power or anything yet. You know, we still got a few months, but they already done went and kicked the Democrats. They basically done already kicked Kamala and Biden out of office already. And, you know, and already done put Trump in as the dictator, and they're going to comply to his wishes. You know, let's kiss your ring. Let's bow down and polish your shoes. Oh, Royal Highness. You know, Your Majesty.
Okay.
You know, and then, they sold democracy out for, you know, for their own self. They're the knaves within.
Yeah.
You know, the knaves within.
Sell out.
While pretending all the while to be they have democratic values and views and stuff, you know, like that. You know, they're part of the American facade.
Yeah. We thought y'all were for the people. Turns out you just for yourself.
Well, I kind of knew. I mean, I kind of thought Mika might have been kind of, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I was always skeptical about Joe because he was, you know, he was Republican, you know, and then he became independent or whatever and stuff, you know. But you know, I was always skeptical about him. Mika, she just seemed just kind of fake and pretentious. I used to tell my mother, you know, I don't know why you watch them, you know, every morning. You know, you continuously watch them. You know, and I said, and they say the same stuff every hour. They repeat the same thing that they repeated in the first hour. They might have one or two different guests or whatever, but they usually have the same guest. And they done gave them like 3 to 4 to 5 hours or something that they're on now. But each hour they repeat exactly the same stuff, you know. And then my mother would sit there and she would watch it, you know, whatever. And you know, oh, I just love it. Now she's pissed, you know, whatever. You know, and I was telling her, I said, there's other outlets and stuff out there. You know, you need to learn how to work, you know, like YouTube or, you know, or get on the internet and stuff, you know, like that, so you can find your news and find, you know, whatever, or you can just go and find little excerpts or pieces that they have said and watch those or whatever instead of keep watching the whole thing, you know, or whatever. But now, you know, because I told her, I told her a couple of years ago when she was down here visiting, I was like, you know, they're really snakes, you know, you know, and I said, but a lot of older people watch them in the morning and stuff, you know, people doing it, you know, like in the morning. So they can get their news, you know, or whatever, but they don't see past that facade that they were putting up, you know. But now it just showed, and now people are actually talking about that. You know, I mean, it was, and that's you know, do not obey in advance, you know. And then we got the media, you know, they're already with him, you know, that's being complicit, you know, coming over to kiss his ring, you know, or whatever.
Because he holds the power, so I want to go over and, you know, join his camp to protect me, cover my ass. But that's how that's how America is, you know, that's the mindset. Yeah, to cover my ass. I don't care about nobody else. It's just me and my 4. You know, it's just, we don't think about others.
Yeah, so, you know, and what we're going to need to do, you know, we're going to have to be exposing, you know, like we're going to need the whistleblowers and, you know, and people who can expose that. Yeah, we're going to need all of that type of stuff, you know, exposing unethical behavior among political figures, including Donald Trump and Republicans, you know, can involve, you know, these following actions, you know, investigative journalists, you know, support media investigations that uncover facts and policies, not when they bring in that, you know, propaganda and untrue, you know, policies and actions and potential corruption. It ain't gonna be no potential corruption. It's gonna be corruption. It's already, you know, he already had it in his last administration. It's gonna be there, you know. You know, fact checking, you know, promote and share work by fact checking organizations to challenge misinformation. We're gonna have to do a lot of that. You know, the people are going to be the ones who are going to have to push back. You know, we're going to be the ones who are going to have to push back. If we just give up and say, well, he done won now, or, you know, like I said earlier, you know, I really don't want to do anything for them because I'm mad and it pissed me off or whatever. But if I kept that mentality, you know, and if a whole lot of people had that mentality that I have, then nothing's going to get done, and then they're going to be able to, you know, take over the country and rule it. You know, rule it the way Trump wants it to be run. It'll be Trump's country. So I got to get out there and I'm gonna have to fight and stuff too.
Yeah.
As much as I would like to punish them myself, like, no, this is what you voted for, so this is what you're going to get. But what's going to happen is if we don't, it's going to affect all of us.
Right, because eventually it's going to get to you, like that thing you said.
Right, like, because even us that didn't vote for him, it's going to affect all of us and the people we love and stuff too. If we don't get out there and do anything, and that means we're being complicit and allowing them to do that. As much as you don't want to get out there to help those ones who voted against it, who voted against, democracy. Public accountability, encourage public hearings and inquiries into allegations of misconduct. Whistleblower protection, support and protect whistleblowers who expose wrongdoing within political circles. Because if they got empowered, and we might not get no whistleblowers because they're going to be scared, that they won't get the protection that they get now, because whistleblowers get protection. And then but with Trump, he already get out there and they gave away our secrets to the Russians and the Chinese, getting out there telling them our top secrets and all that type of stuff, but he'll blow who they are, but he's going to do it anyway because they're going to care against him, and then he's going to expose them and probably have them jailed or whatever,
locked up somewhere,
have harm or something done to him, because he's no different than Putin.
Right.
To me, he's no different than Hitler. This is how it all starts. This is how it all starts. It took a good 8 or 9, 10 years for that whole, from the time of Hitler and the inception of all of that, craziness and concentration camp. And it took about 10 years or something to get to that. And then in 1 or 2 years, we'll already be, moving up into, we'll already be up into that type of stuff. We don't push back, and then in 4 years it probably ain't even going to matter because because we're already going to be there and we're not going to be able to go vote them out or whatever, and it's not going to matter because they're going to have complete control of the country. So
it kind of reminds me of I use Don Lemon as an example. Like, when he was at CNN, he kind of had to stay within, the borders of what. But now that he's doing his YouTube show, I see him a little different now. Like, he's able to say what he really wants to say. I don't know if he's always, I think he is. I think he's unbiased, but I think we all kind of have some bias,
We all have a little bias.
Yeah, but I think he's able to say a lot more than what he was able to say when he was under that, that CNN organization or whatever. And so people like that will just, really get the story for you and tell you like it is. I like that. And those are the type of people that we're going to have to protect, He's one of the ones that left Twitter as well. He's like, I can't stay over there because all they're going to do is take my videos down, or they're going to, try to shut me up or whatever, silence me or whatever. So I think a lot of them are now just going to have to find a platform where they can, actually have that freedom of speech or whatever. I know a lot of them saying they're going over to Blue Sky, which I've checked that out. And it seems to be a lot better than because now you see what you want to see. You don't see all this. If you don't want to see it, you don't really see it. So I'm pretty much probably gonna get an account over there with Blue Sky. And then there's other platforms that are not so controlled like that or whatever that's out there. And I would say anybody that's trying to start your own business, I think that would be a good thing. I might even try, if I get some money behind me, I might try to do a platform where I can have a platform where I can bring in content creators and we can just do, we can say what we want to say,
Right. And we can say what we want to say now. Basically, YouTube controls some of it, whatever. But we can basically say what we want to say now. But if they get in power, who knows what they'll do? Who knows who they'll come after, or which content creators they're going to shut down, which they consider a threat,
right?
Or
whistleblower.
Even though we're a small channel, we're growing, but we're a small channel. But that doesn't mean that they'll go after the big ones and the small ones because they don't want any dissent against them. You know, they don't want anybody who has any type of dissent against them.
Right.
And they could be, so they can come in and shut down YouTube. You know, the people on YouTube who are, you know, force them to, if
and disagree with anything
right,
they
that they stand for or whatever, and they might just keep X up and Fox News, you know, or those other ones, and let them have their propaganda and stuff across it. But they can come down and shut us right down.
Yeah.
You know, our channel. I just now put in Blue Sky. When you said that,
Mhm.
I just went in and
Oh yeah, check
myself a
them
note
out. Yeah,
on
check
my
them
phone
out.
to go, you know, check, you know, check for them.
Mhm.
Because we do have X, but you know, I'm kind of waiting a little bit to see when they take power before you know, before I get off of there.
Mhm.
I'm trying to wait, you know, to see what they're going to do, because they may shut anybody who has said anything bad about Trump down off of X anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to see how that power dynamic is going to play out with these different platforms and different sites and stuff, you know, like that.
Right.
You know, but I do plan on getting off of there.
Mhm.
But I want to see how all that's going to play out first.
Mhm.
You know, if they're going to silence our voice and stuff, you know, on our channel that we have on there.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, so but you know, I got some you know, I got stuff up in here. You know how people can get involved. You know, it's like voting. You know,
Mhm.
but like we said before, you know, we might go out and vote, but if the machines and stuff are rigged and they got, you know, whatever, however they got it, you know, whatever, our votes might not count, you know, but that's still not going to stop me from going out and
Right.
voting as long as I can walk in or wheel myself in a wheelchair or crutches or something to get there,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. I'm still going to go out and vote, you know, or whatever. You know, you got volunteering, you know, like engaging in volunteering activities, you know, within a community. You know, and stuff, you know, like that. You got advocacy and activism.
Mhm.
You know, promote, you know, like promoting or supporting a course or policy. You know, it could be like organizing, you know, attending rallies and stuff, you know, like that,
Mhm.
which we're talking about, going out to protest and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and anybody that's in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area, you know, who want, you know, when these protests come up, you know, who want to come out and join us, you know, you can hit us up through our channel or whatever, and we can, you know, get a group or something together and try to, you know, even plan a march and stuff ourselves. But, you know,
Right.
you know, we're going to get in there with these big rallies and stuff that's out there, these big protests and stuff, you know, and get out there and try to protest some of this, you know, this disgrace, you know, some of this going to be happening.
Right.
Because it, you know, folks, it ain't like that. It ain't going to happen. It might not be all of it, but a whole lot of what he said is going to come to fruition.
Yes.
You know, and we're going to have to push back.
It's
You know, so you know, and people who want to get out there, if you're serious about getting out there and helping and protesting and stuff, you know, we're putting some stuff in here that can, you know, kind of guide you in that direction and stuff, you know, like that, and then, you know, get out there and protest with us when we get ready to go. You know,
I feel like we're back at that time where, I mean, just think about us as Black people, our civil rights, where people actually have to get out there. I mean, and it was effective. I mean, look where we are today. I mean, we're not quite where we want to be, but still, we're here. We can vote and stuff like that. And it was made possible because there were sit-ins. You know, there were times where they decided not to get on the bus. They took the money out of it. You know what I mean? And that's another thing too. When they have these Black Fridays, or when they, you know, these companies that support, you know, their agenda, whatever, we can stop supporting them. Cut them off at the neck or whatever they say, or whatever. Cut them off, because that's what they want. They want your money. That's why I'll say we're gonna be the Black people probably gonna be the last ones they come for, because we do spend a lot of money with these companies. Like, you know, women, they want to get these purses. I'm about to say niggas. guys want to get these shoes. You know, we spend the money, and I mean, and we can. I mean, it's your money. It's what you like or whatever. But at the same time, why support someone that doesn't support you? You know what I mean? And that's the basis of it or whatever. We can cut them off like that. Like I said, the sit-ins, you know, they decided not to ride the buses. So I think for what, a week or a month? It was a while.
it was months.
Yeah. they decide not to ride the buses and stuff like that. I mean, that's how we got here where we are today. And we may have, we're gonna have to go and do stuff like that again, to protest, stand out there, and so I'm ready.
And that's like really going to be our only means, because we don't have the House or the Senate or anything. I mean, it's going to be our voices, our bodies. We're going to have to go out there, and it's going to be rough. Some people, it's going to be rough. Because sometimes they can get a little violent, because the ones who, them Trump supporters and the MAGAs and stuff, they're very violent and hateful. And so they may attack us, or whatever, or the police attack us during riots, and not riots, during protests and all that stuff, and then they end up turning into riots, or whatever. But we got to push back. We're gonna have to push back, And it says, you can, I got up here, where you can join protest groups in Dallas, you could, start by researching online. A lot of it's going to be education, people. It's going to be like educating yourself on the true facts, or educating yourself on history. Go back and learn some of this history and stuff of how we got from there to here, and why we're here at this point and stuff now. The libraries are still out there for the people who don't get online, or whatever, like that, like my mother or whatever, but she goes to the library and stuff, but she's very knowledgeable on this stuff anyway. But social media platforms and stuff, unless they shut us down, get on there. There's lots of social media platforms out there for advocacy groups and how to get in these protests, how to join organizations and stuff, or how you can get involved and help. And even if it ain't going out protesting, there's other ways that you can get involved to petition your government for your grievances, and stuff, like that. We got, attending events, check local event listings and platforms, if the Eventbrite or Meetup and stuff, like that. It's just like Eventbrite. They're always pushing stuff across there for all type of happenings, whether it's social, entertainment, or protests. All type of stuff that comes up across my Eventbrite, that comes up in there, and you can choose, whatever,
hashtag
this. And there's some stuff that, there's some protest groups that you get into, like you join, and you may have to pay a little fee or something, but most of them you don't have to pay anything, or whatever. But but you can get out there, and you can start your own group, get up, and be an advocate to get people to join your group, so we can all get involved in different stuff, volunteering, connecting with activists, join forums or groups on platforms like Facebook or Reddit. They're all out there volunteering, following local news. I don't follow local news anymore. I can go out and find what I'm looking for and research and stuff, myself. I don't have to go and get the news off of them. But there's still plenty of people out there who do like local news, and mostly older people, like 50 and up, other people do too, but mostly the local news is like gonna be older people who still watch that type of stuff. Or
look, the only time I watch the local news is when we having bad weather. Because I want to know, like, is there a tornado down my street, or we flooded or whatever. But other than that, I don't really watch the local news. But I mean, it is good to know what's going on in your community if that's your only way of getting the information. Then, But you know what? I talked about the civil rights, about the sit-ins or whatever. But just more up to date was I like old girl in Atlanta. It wasn't Stacey. Was it Stacey
Abrams?
Abrams, yeah. Just the way she did that, and she turned that whole state, around. Just the things she did. I mean, we're gonna have to do stuff like that. I mean, she was out there. She got the information out there. And that's what we're gonna have to do. And so that's more a more up to date example of what she did. I have somewhere in my notes of all the little things she did, but I don't know if I can find it. I'll see if I can find it. Go ahead.
And then people, you have to know your rights, know your legal rights, because they're going to try to exert authority over your rights. They're gonna, they're hoping you don't know your legal rights and stuff, like that, because you're gonna need to know those when we get hauled in, get hauled into jail, or the police are harassing us, or other stuff that's going on where you got to know, if you know your legal rights. I know there's times where it doesn't work, it works against you,
Mhm.
or whatever, because they they shirk the law, or whatever. But still, you got to know your legal rights and your legal human rights, and stuff, like that, and and your rights to go protest, to petition your government, and outcry of the the harm and stuff that your government and stuff can and will do.
And will do. Mhm.
So, and complacency, marked by self-satisfaction, especially when accompanied by unawareness or actual danger or deficiencies. People don't even know the danger. A lot of them, they're unaware because they don't know their history.
Mhm.
They don't care to know their history, or they
Right.
don't read to go try to research and find out.
Right.
So they're unaware of, some of them are just unaware of how dangerous this man is and how dangerous these Republicans could be to our nation.
Right.
And they'll end up allowing it to happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and then key thoughts.
Because they're really depending on for you not to know and not to go out. Like I said on the previous on one of the shows, they said that if you put it in a book, especially with Black people, if you put it in a book, you can keep the information from them because they know we're not going to read it, we're not going to research it or whatever. We got to change that. We really need to start getting out there, do the research, get the information, and let other people know. I mean, we share everything else. My Facebook is full of people sharing their opinion. I mean, as soon as you get on Facebook, the first thing it asks you is, what do you think, or something like that. So it's full of people. We can share. People being like, oh, I don't feel good today, or just sharing all kind of crazy stuff. But this is the stuff that matters. This is stuff that we should be sharing and hashtagging, hashtag Black Lives Matter, hashtag, whatever. This is the kind of stuff we should be sharing, and not oh, my coworker did this, or my kids doing this, or whatever, So yeah, we share everything else. Let's share this, because I mean, this could be death or life, this
Right.
could be, our rights are not having rights, so.
Right. And if people go read the Constitution,
Mhm.
it's out there for you. You can read, so it'll help you understand your rights and your freedoms and stuff in the world, and can help you learn how to push back against tyranny.
Yeah.
Article 1 of the Constitution. Article 1. The First Amendment of the Constitution. First Amendment fundamental freedoms. Congress shall make no law. Respecting on establishment of religion. I can't talk for some reason. Respecting on establishment of religion. That's separation of church and state. You came over here fleeing religious oppression and other things, and then you come over here and oppress people with the religion that you were trying to flee from.
Right.
I mean, it's hypocrisy.
It's history repeating itself. It's like you left one bondage to just put people under bondage again. It's like crazy.
Or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, and that's, of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Well, those are our rights.
Those are our rights.
Okay, those are our rights. And go learn those, so we know what to do when we got to push back.
Yeah.
Because if not, and they're hoping we don't know that, that's when they're going to push on us,
Right.
and force us into an autocracy. So we're going to have to fight back.
Yeah.
As much as we don't want to, as far as like helping the people who voted for Trump.
It's almost like when people get insurance or whatever for your car or whatever, you need it, you can go to jail or get a ticket or whatever for it if you don't have it or whatever. But you get these policies because it's the law or whatever. But some people get it and you don't even know your benefits or whatever. So you're sitting on the side of the road when your insurance promises you that you could just dial a number and road assistance will come, or you had an accident or whatever, and you don't know that you can go get a car, a loaner or whatever. So it's like know everything that the plan that that it gives you. Don't just say, oh well, I just got it because I want to make sure I'm abiding by the law, but know all the rights you get. It's like, I think I said this before, it's like the guy that goes on the cruise ship and he's on the cruise and he's just in his room all day or whatever, not knowing that you got access to the bar, you got access to this and this and this and this. All what you pay for your ticket, it included all of this. Not just that, and I think sometimes we don't know everything that's included in our package, so to say, or whatever, and that's why it is easily taken away from us because we never knew we had it, or we let it go easily because I wasn't using it no way. The reason why you weren't using it because you didn't even know you had it. So know everything about it. Even like when you go on jobs, know all the benefits. People on these jobs, they don't know they can have short-term disability or long-term disability. It's all kind of stuff that jobs offer you, but a lot of people don't even know. Even to see a therapist, sometimes you can go to a therapist maybe like 5 times for free before they actually start charging you. So that's what we're trying to tell you guys with the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and all that. Know everything that we've been rightfully given. And so when they try to take these away from them, we know what we're fighting for.
Yeah, my son, he didn't know, like when he started his job, he didn't know all the different and it's like I don't even know if they explained it to him well or whatever, benefits and all, like what you were talking about. I had to go in here and tell him, no, you need to go do this.
Yeah.
This is what you're entitled to. Here's your here's an HSA card for you. Do like this, take this money and put this much up for you, so and so, whatever. Because he was just working, and then because he was on my stuff, or whatever. But eventually, you're going to be where you can't be on my insurance or anything, like that. But, so I had to go through that with him and tell him, this is what your job, they offer you this. You should know that, whatever. But they didn't explain it to him because they was probably hoping that they don't take their benefits, whatever. Because sometimes they won't explain everything to you or do all that to you. So you won't. That's true. Because that's more they have to pay out if they have to pay you benefits and stuff. But you're right on that. But then people also go out, in addition to the into the the articles of the Constitution and stuff, there's those Bill of Rights that are written into that Constitution, and it's the and the first 10 amendments of the Constitution, will spell out your help you understand your rights and stuff, like that. Not the 10 commandments. It's the 10 amendments to the Constitution.
Right.
They like to put the 10 commandments on everybody, which they don't follow. Nobody follows them laws either, whatever. But they want to put them on you morally, but they don't want to put them on themselves. So we're not talking about the 10 commandments. We're talking about the Bill of Rights, the first 10, the first 10 amendments. The first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution, which is the bill, or the Bill of Rights, added to explicitly protect individual liberties and civil rights from government overreach, addressing concerns from anti-federalists, who feared a powerful central government would infringe on citizens' freedoms. Now, here's the weird thing about that. Here's the weird thing about that. That's what the Republicans said they stood for. They didn't want the government, all that Tea Party shit, that was racism too. They just used Obama excuse and came up with the Tea Party, but we really know that was racism, in its making or whatever. But how they, they go and use, use other words, use something else to for their real reasons of why they, why they do it. But with that Tea Party, but the Republicans claimed they were, they didn't want big government. They don't want the government telling them what to do or infringing on their rights and their freedoms and their gun rights and all this other type of stuff. But then they go and get rid of democracy and vote for that type of government. They vote for a government telling them what to do. They're voting for the government, right? They're voting for the government, to take away their freedoms and their rights and to dictate to them how they should live and what they should be doing. That's what they just went and voted for, those MAGAs and Trumps and those religious people that voted for that.
Yeah.
They're such hypocrites. All of them. They're just hypocrites. Every single one of them. And then so our last thing here, and then you'll have your talking points and stuff, is like, courage. Mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, and withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take courage for the American people to come out and stand up against this government that we're about to get. It's going to take us. We're going to have to stand up against fascism, autocracy, dictatorship, tyranny. It's going to take our courage to do that, and it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough, but we're going to have to persevere through that, or whatever, and hopefully most of us can make it through. I know there's times when some of us don't, or whatever, because they're very violent, that Republican right-wing side, side of the Republicans and society, and we saw that with January 6th, and then they're overlooking that too. They thought that, that was a peaceful protest. They're like, we're the ones who made them start that or whatever, people are so, they're so, whatever.
You climbing a wall. That's not,
So,
but yeah,
that's what it's going to take.
We have to be unified. Yes. And come together.
And what's your closing final thoughts?
Oh my goodness. So like I told Alvin, I said when we decided to do this show, I had so much information or whatever, and there's so much more. But as I was thinking how I would close it or my closing statements, I was just like, we, like you said, we're gonna have to come together. America, it promises a lot. It promises freedom. It promises equality and justice, but it never delivers most of the time. We never get there, and it can be disheartening. I know a lot of us are, kind of discouraged, kind of disheartened about the outcome of, Trump supposedly winning the election, and how, America can have its contradictions, because just like for you Latinos, how you say you want one thing, but then you vote for someone that stands for the very opposite. That's just so, I don't understand the contradiction in your thinking or whatever. And I think now I even had to shut the TV off at one time, because I was like, now is not the time to be pointing fingers and saying, oh, what could we have done better and blah, blah, blah. No, let's do what we can now, and because we're not powerless. We can actually get out there and we can be the change makers. I have here that, the fight is not going to be easy. It's going to take us actually getting out there, like you said, joining these groups that are already established, or starting your own group, getting the information out there. The flyers, or making sure everybody's registered to vote, until that may be taken away from us. But as long as we have it, let's make sure we're registered, so we can go vote in these elections and know about the elections, your local, your city, state, national elections. All of them are important. And then I want to just say that, even though it can be discouraging, there's organizations out there, there's resources out there, there's people out there that have already got this information. It's all we have to do is go out. And I think a lot of us, we don't want to do the work or whatever, but this time right now, we are gonna have to do the work. We're gonna have to go out there and do the research, get with people that this is their expertise. I don't know everything about, the government or whatever. Someone, I may have to hook up with someone that knows it a little bit better than me. It's okay to be honest and say, hey, I don't know. And sometimes we actually have to say, I don't know, but can you share the information with me? And then you can go back and fact check them just to make sure they're not, or whatever. Hopefully you find someone trusted, that will give you the correct information, and you guys team up and go out there and work for our rights or whatever. We're going to have to fight for the America that we deserve, and thank God we don't have to do this by ourselves. I just want to encourage everyone to stay inspired, stay motivated, and remember that change begins with us, and we've done it before and we can do it again.
All righty, everybody. We're going to get out of here. And thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
And,
happy Thanksgiving for you guys. I know it's coming up, and hopefully if you can be with your families and be thankful that, we live in a country, where right now, we do have the rights or whatever, but of course, like we said, we're going to have to fight for them, because right now we have people in office that are readily waiting to take them away. But we are thankful that, we do have this country, and it's not perfect, but we can help to make it better.
And I'll just leave, I'll leave with my comments, what we talked about earlier. Don't be complacent. Don't let them take over our country.
Mm-hmm.
Don't, think about this. First they came for the socialists, and I did not speak. I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. That's just that's a lesson that we all need to.
Yeah, that's powerful.
We need to know, and we need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't do anything and we become complacent, that's the direction that we're headed into.
And it's basically the Good Samaritan, logo theme or whatever, which I think we all should, be our brother's keeper, because it could be us.
Right.
It may not be you today.
Therefore, the grace of God go out.
Yeah. It may not be you today, but it could be you tomorrow. So yeah.
We're heading in that direction.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining everybody today.
Thank
Please
you.
like, share, and subscribe, and hit that like button.
Yeah.
Because that helps send our videos and stuff out, and do that YouTube algorithm. Leave your comments. We'll get back with you, in a day or two.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's been so much going on, but hopefully, but we will get back with you. We read your comments and suggestions. But bye, world.
Bye, y'all.